Chapter 3277. His Excellency had a lot of skeletons. If every skeleton came to comprehend the laws, the city would be overcrowded. The main system said, you'd better not let your skeletons comprehend the laws. The skeletons that comprehend the laws will have the power of the laws. Some powers are mutually exclusive, and it will be difficult for the skeletons to fuse. The skeletons can disperse and condense into a larger body because every skeleton is the same and doesn't repel each other. But if you use the power of the laws, do you think these skeletons can successfully fuse together? Don't throw away the watermelon to pick up the sesame seed. Have you ever seen His Excellency let his skeletons comprehend the power of the laws? If this method could work, His Excellency would have done it long ago. Ning Shu said. It sounds reasonable. The main system said, it makes sense. Hurry up and get rid of the skeletons blocking the door. Ning Shu touched her chin and suddenly felt that it was very interesting. The main system personally told her that Zhang Jiasen was just a small shrimp. Why did it bother the main system? Was Zhang Jiasen really that powerful? Probably not. It was so obvious that they were targeting her. They were probably from that faction. Talking about Zhang Jiasen was nothing more than to disgust her. They could also sell Zhang Jiasen a favor. Ning Shu asked, I remember that I blocked the space. How did the news still reach your ears? The main system said, do you think so many people are blind? You said you wouldn't cause trouble. How long have you been back? Didn't your system tell you? Ning Shu cried out, I really didn't cause trouble. I just went to find him. He didn't want to see me at all and hid in the house, so I could only let people block the door. However, Ning Shu still went to Witch City and sent the skeletons back to the world of Samsara. Although the main system didn't want the skeletons to be in the city, what it said was not unreasonable. When she had time, she would ask His Excellency. Oh, His Excellency seemed to have blacklisted her. Since she couldn't ask His Excellency, she would ask the other skeletons. She also had the contact information of the skeletons under His Excellency. Although there were laws that restrained each other, there were also laws that reinforced each other. The 7 basic laws reinforced and restrained each other. Seeing Ning Shu appear again, Zhang Jiasen smiled and said, What's wrong? You don't want people to guard me anymore? Ning Shu said, Even if I don't let people guard you, do you dare to come out? Even if she really wasn't in this city anymore, Zhang Jiasen wouldn't dare to come out. He was afraid that she would hide somewhere and plot against him. Zhang Jiasen said, I wouldn't dare. I am indeed afraid of you. But when it comes to rules, you can't beat me. Ning Shu chuckled. What's so fun about playing by the rules? Jumping out of the rules, that's the fun part. Rules were used to regulate others. What was the point of finding loopholes in the rules? Zhang Jiasen narrowed his eyes. You have a point. Ning Shu was quite happy. The more the faction did, the happier Ning Shu was. He had already said that he would stir up trouble in that faction. Zhang Jiasen had a grudge against him, and the enemy of an enemy was a friend. He reckoned that a small fry like Zhang Jiasen had entered the eyes of that faction. Ning Shu said, You really should thank me. Otherwise, you wouldn't even have the chance to be a lackey. Although Zhang Jiasen was now the city lord of a city of laws, Ning Shu knew that the law incarnation was not a difficult task at all. Only with the rules could one barely pick up the fragments. If the power of the rules was not strong enough, one could not even pick up the fragments, let alone go to the endless void. Zhang Jiasen was not annoyed. He said, Of course it's good to be able to fight like this. If someone is willing to give me this power, why wouldn't I use it? Although I don't know why you offended them, to me, this is an opportunity. We don't know who will be using who. Zhang Jiasen stretched out his hand and followed the barrier. His face was a little blurry. Ning Shu, let's work together. As long as we work together, I believe that our strength will not be 1 + 1 = 2. What I'm doing now is just to let you see my ability. Although I'm very weak now, I will use all my strength to achieve my goal. As long as we work together, we will be very strong. That faction bullied you because they saw that you were alone, so they bullied you at will. As long as we work together. Ning Shu almost laughed out loud. She looked at Zhang Jiasen. Do you think I will work with you? Zhang Jiasen nodded without hesitation. Yes, because no one knows you as well as I do and loves you. Huh? The word love was used to describe liking an object. In Zhang Jiasen's eyes, she was an object. Ning Shu was not angry at all. Zhang Jiasen knew her, and she also knew what kind of person Zhang Jiasen was. Work together? Work together? Then she should be saying, did you succeed in attracting my attention? Ning Shu felt a chill run down her spine. Are you going to say that you have done so much to attract my attention? Zhang Jiasen, then have you noticed me? Ning Shu flipped her hair and smiled. Are you so infatuated with me? It was not a lucky thing to be infatuated with a pervert. She was lucky that she had power. If she did not have power, she would be reduced to a pitiful state. Zhang Jiasen, if I say that I am infatuated with you, you will definitely not believe me. Yes, I am deeply infatuated with you. I guess you won't believe me. Ning Shu, then be infatuated with me. Infatuation was just a means. Zhang Jiasen looked at Ning Shu with deep eyes. We are the most suitable people to work together. We have endless years and can pursue stronger things together. Ning Shu sneered. What right do you have to stand side by side with me? She worked hard to become stronger, not to stand side by side with anyone, and not to cooperate with anyone just because of a half-truth. She did not join any factions and did not seem to have many people around her. She had to solve everything by herself. However, in contrast, she had freedom that no one else could have. Whatever she enjoyed, she would be bound by this thing. Zhang Jiasen, I will make myself qualified to stand side by side with you. I will become someone you cannot reject. Ning Shu just smiled. There is nothing that can be forced to do. You can't. You will never be able to do it. Zhang Jiasen touched his chest as if he was hurt by Ning Shu's words. He sneered. See, we are so similar. We have always been so unscrupulous in hurting others and only pursue what we want. Why should we care about those things that we don't care about? You despise me for abandoning Meow Meow Meow. Meow Meow loves me so much, but I treat her like grass. Ungrateful. Chapter 3279. She was really happy that the system valued her so much. Valuing her meant that it acknowledged her strength, which was a good thing. Ning Shu asked, other than having you watch over me, does the main system have any other intentions? Since the system was a smart person, Ning Shu naturally wanted to be one with the system and become a cooperative partner. Ning Shu said, you should know about my background. Because of what happened before, I don't really trust the system. Since we've already been assigned together, we should try to get along peacefully. Actually, our world isn't an organization, but the sea of stars. Have you seen it outside of the organization? The world doesn't have an organization. The outside world is much bigger. What I mean is that you shouldn't take the organization's words too seriously. Our goal is the sea of stars. I won't openly go against the organization's rules. I know what I'm doing. Ning Shu said. The system said, I might not be able to see the sea of stars if you do something like that from time to time. Ning Shu said, don't say such discouraging words. You'll definitely be able to see it, trust me. The system was speechless. Ning Shu said, that's why I won't be impulsive. Just trust me. From a lowly position to where he was now, did he not know when to advance and when to retreat? Even if he had to endure, he also had to show off. Was he going to keep holding it in? He had to know when to advance and when to retreat. Retreating was a strategic retreat, and advancing was obviously an attack. He would not be able to hurt the enemy if he kept retreating. In short, it was all to get what he wanted. Ning Shu also wanted to use Zhang Jiasen's incident to have an open and honest discussion with the system. Since he could communicate well, there was no need to keep an enemy by his side. Ning Shu said, I can roughly understand your position. You're in a dilemma. But in this situation, I didn't cause any trouble. I didn't fight in the City of Laws, so the main system can't determine that I'm causing trouble. Did I fight? No, I didn't. Sometimes, you shouldn't take the organization's words to heart. Since the main system said that I can't openly go against it, I didn't fight. The system remained silent. She stood in front of Zhang Jiasan's city lord's mansion and said that she was causing trouble. This was too unreasonable. Moreover, whether Zhang Jiasan left the city lord's mansion or not, his legs were on his body. She could control Zhang Jiasan's legs. He was the one who had holed himself up in the city lord's mansion. Did she violate the rules of the organization? Of course not. If we work together, it'll be easier than running away alone. I don't think we've bound our souls yet. The system said, yes, it's not bound. When we don't have absolute understanding, when we trust each other, you won't bind with me. So, I haven't thought of binding our souls yet. Ning Shu felt that the system was really thorough in its work. Rather than saying that it was because of her, it would be better to say that the system was actually unwilling to be bound to her. Being bound to her meant that they would have to live and die together, and she seemed to be a thorn in the main system's side. Originally, he had come with a mission, so his relationship with the system was different from the usual mission enforcers. This system was organized to supervise her, and its position was subtle. Moreover, this system could be implicated by her at any time, and its feelings might be even more subtle. So, from the system's point of view, she was an unlikable person. Ning Shu said, if that's the case, then let's bind our souls. The system asked, are you sure you want to bind your souls with me? Once our souls are bound, it means that we will live and die together. Our relationship hasn't reached that stage yet. Maybe it won't be too late for us to make plans after we get to know each other better. Ning Shu's lips curled up. Sure, I'm not afraid. You can bind your souls with me whenever you want. There were some things that one didn't need to be afraid of, and there was no need to be afraid of. She had already put aside the life and death battle, so why would she be afraid of a system? Moreover, this system couldn't kill her. So she was fearless. Binding her soul was fine, but the system had more concerns. Ning Shu asked, have you thought of a name? The system said, a name is just a code. It doesn't matter if you have one or not. Besides, it's better not to have a name if you don't remember the past. Interesting. Ning Shu didn't force the system to bind with her. Since it wasn't willing, she naturally wouldn't force it. She might not be afraid of anything, but it was obvious that the system was afraid. I'll let you see more in the future, then you won't be afraid of anything. Ning Shu looked at Zhang Jiasan in the barrier, wondering if anyone would come to save him. If someone really did come, then Zhang Jiasan was really valuable. She had already set up the stage, and now she was waiting for all kinds of people to come on stage. Others used Zhang Jiasan to act as a middleman, and she could also use Zhang Jiasan to act as a middleman. Wasn't it easy to create a conflict? She just had to see who could be lured out. She hoped that it wouldn't disappoint her. If Zhang Jiasan couldn't lure people out, she wouldn't bother with Zhang Jiasan and would just drag him into the void and kill him. Zhang Jiasan's eyes flashed, and his brain was working quickly. He looked at Ning Shu. I told you we were the most compatible people, and we can do anything to achieve our goals. Ning Shu couldn't be bothered to pay attention to him, and directly blocked Zhang Jiasan's words. He could think whatever he wanted. Ning Shu hoped that Zhang Jiasan would sink into his own fantasies and fantasize more. Who knew, maybe he would take his fantasies for real. The system said, someone sent you a message. It's Zhu Li. The system didn't know this person. The system knew a few things about Ning Shu, but it didn't know who Ning Shu was in contact with in private. Ning Shu sat in front of the city lord's residence and asked, what did he say? He said he wants you to go find treasures with him. Oh, that was to go to the void. Ning Shu said, tell him to wait for a while. I'll take care of things here. At this moment, there should be many people paying attention to this side. As long as she stayed here, there would be many eyes on this side. Ever since the main system found out about this matter, Ning Shu knew that someone was watching her at all times. It was just a matter of who popped out first. She had reached an irreconcilable point with that faction. Unless she handed over the Holy Whip, but something like the Holy Whip could only be found by chance. Why should she hand it over? What was in her hands was hers. Moreover, if she handed over the Holy Whip, she wouldn't get a single good word from others. They would even laugh at her for being a coward. Letting go of her hand and handing over the Holy Whip, bowing and groveling, she really looked like a coward. Ning Shu couldn't bear to look straight at her. There were only a few people in this organization. As for who else was in the organization, he didn't know at all. Moreover, Ning Shu understood that even if a mission taker joined a faction, they wouldn't shout about which faction they belonged to. Chapter 3280. The confidentiality measures were still very strong. Perhaps a familiar person beside you was from a certain faction, but you didn't know about it at all. For example, Ning Shu didn't know which faction the Cheongsam man had joined, and the Cheongsam man hadn't told her which faction he had joined. Factions were really mysterious things. Therefore, it was good to use Zhang Jiasen to lure the snake out of its hole. Zhang Jiasen was probably only a little useful. Ning Shu took out the god-beating whip and stroked it, carefully sensing the whip. It was said that it could produce consciousness. Could this kind of baby also become an intelligent creature? As long as it had intelligence, it could be considered a creature. Although it didn't have the ability to reproduce like ordinary creatures, the birth of this kind of thing couldn't be ordinary. It was the accumulation of the essence of heaven and earth, and it had to be nurtured for a long time. Ning Shu had seen many creatures that were born and raised by heaven and earth, so he didn't find it strange. He couldn't treat this whip as an ordinary weapon, but as a doll. There were so many dolls. Ning Shu touched the whip and was full of motherly instinct. Doll, what do you want to eat? All right, the whip, doll, didn't respond at all. It only said that it could produce intelligence, but it didn't say that it was born with intelligence. The whip would slowly produce intelligence and needed to be nurtured. Ning Shu was speechless. Did he have to carry out prenatal education? Did he have to talk to the whip so that it could produce intelligence? Ning Shu was a little impatient. It seems that no one will come to save you. How disappointing. The stage was already set up. Why didn't those people come? Zhang Jiasen didn't say anything because he didn't know if anyone would come. Because he was just an insignificant person. They're here. Ning Shu saw someone land in front of the City Lord Mansion. Their target was the City Lord Mansion, and the landing point was the City Lord Mansion. Ning Shu saw the Great Gate Star and asked in surprise, Why is it you again? Was there no one else in this faction? Why was it always the Great Gate Star? Zhu Menxing tried to calm himself down. This time he was not here to fight, but to negotiate. Zhu Menxing did not even look at Zhang Jiasen, who was trapped in the City Lord's mansion. He looked at Ning Shu and said, Weren't you waiting for someone? Now that I'm here, you must be very disappointed. Ning Shu covered her mouth and laughed. I realize that you men are really interesting when you talk. It's quite funny. All of them were like this. The difference in thinking between men and women was really big. Although they had already become souls, things like thinking were deeply rooted. Zhu Menxing felt numb all over from Ning Shu's laughter. It was really annoying. Previously, he had laughed like this while feeling wronged. He didn't want to deal with such a woman at all. She was neither soft nor hard. She was used to putting on airs, just like Doe. Moreover, because of their gender, she felt that he was bullying her. He was a man bullying a woman. She was small, thin, and weak. At first glance, one could tell that she didn't have any strength. She seemed very lovable, but Zhu Menxing couldn't forget the feeling of being whipped. Zhu Menxing said, Let him out. This matter has nothing to do with him. It was just a casual sentence to do a favor. As for whether the other party would let him go or not, Zhu Menxing didn't care at all. To Zhu Menxing, the city lord of a law city and a law incarnation were nothing in his eyes. Ning Shu ignored Zhu Menxing's words. Since Zhang Jiasen liked to stay inside, then he could stay inside. Zhang Jiasen was speechless. Why did he feel like an ant watching two giants talk? But the two giants simply ignored him. This feeling was really terrible. It couldn't be worse. The feeling of being ignored was worse than being remembered or even hated. Hatred at least meant that the other party had taken him to heart. This feeling was really terrible. It was very terrible. Zhu Menxing said, I'm not here to fight with you this time. What do you want in order to hand over the god-beating whip? Ning Shu looked at Zhu Menxing in surprise. Why aren't you fighting? Zhu Menxing was speechless. Why should he fight? He had already received the news that this guy had an immortal body. He was a bug. How could he fight? Moreover, even if he was crippled, he couldn't be killed. What could he do? He had spent a lot of effort, but this monster just couldn't die. He was so angry. Facing this kind of person, since he couldn't use force, he would use a soft approach. Ning Shu said, "Then what do you want in exchange for the god-beating whip? It can only be more valuable than the god-beating whip. If not, then I definitely can't hand over the god-beating whip. Is there no one else in your faction? To be honest, I'm a little tired of your face. Can you change to someone else?" Zhu Menxing's expression was very ugly. He really didn't know how to negotiate with this woman. He felt that nothing could get through to her. This kind of person was full of thorns. He couldn't kill her. He didn't care much about negotiating. Moreover, the other party was obviously targeting them. He couldn't give up on the god-beating whip. However, if she took out something of the same value as the god-beating whip, why bother exchanging it for the god-beating whip? In short, this was a very troublesome matter. Zhu Menxing didn't fucking want to come. Ning Shu was just about to say something when he raised his eyelids. He saw Tai Shu floating there in black. He was silent and didn't move at all. He just stared at them. Peeping Tom. He stared at them all the time. He never appeared. When things got out of control, he would appear to find them. This urban management officer was sinister. Ning Shu lowered his eyes and said to Zhu Menxing, "It's not easy to get together. Let's go to a restaurant and have a drink." Zhu Menxing was speechless. Ning Shu whispered, "Is the judge watching?" Zhu Menxing immediately adjusted his facial muscles and put on a familiar look. He smiled and said, "Who's the bastard if you don't drink?" "Okay, bastard." When Ning Shu looked up again, Tai Shu had disappeared. Zhu Menxing also glanced at him. The two of them pulled a long face at the same time. They were no longer as friendly as before. Zhu Menxing said to Ning Shu, "Why don't we find a restaurant to talk? Who knows if the judge is still watching?" Ning Shu felt that Tai Shu was probably just passing by. He saw that they were about to fight and stared. He probably really left. No need to go to a restaurant. He thought it would attract other people. Exchange for the god-beating whip? Sorry, no exchange. However, since someone had sent something good, he had to see what it was. Ning Shu asked, "What is it?" Ning Shu wouldn't forget what happened before. It wouldn't be over so easily. After all, she had said that she would turn that faction upside down. Zhu Menxing looked at Ning Shu suspiciously. "Are you willing to exchange?" Chapter 3281. The giant gate star said, "What do you want? We can buy it with merit." Ning Shu said, Merit. You seem to be making me laugh. Although merit is precious, it is more precious than something that can only be found by chance. But a treasure born in the void? The giant gate star also realized that merit was not attractive to her. After all, she could get merit by dealing with star stones. The giant gate star said, "What do you want?" Ning Shu said, "I am an ignorant person. I don't know anything good. If you have something good, take it out." The giant gate star thought for a while and said, "I have a treasure. Do you want it?" Ning Shu raised his eyebrows. This faction is really rich. Jealousy is making me unrecognizable. Ning Shu asked curiously, "What kind of treasure is it?" "A treasure is a treasure. There is no difference. As for what kind of weapon it will become, it depends on the development." Ning Shu thought. "I am an ignorant person. Ignorance makes me beautiful." Although he was a little ignorant, he knew that using a treasure to exchange for a weapon that had already taken shape was obviously more valuable. Because the treasure needed to be nurtured, it was not certain what kind of weapon it would become. This whip had already taken shape. The most important thing was that it was quite good. It was also a weapon that specialized in restraining the soul element. Its value was even higher. Ning Shu only chuckled. Using such a method of exchange, she was afraid that he was treating her as a fool. The giant gate star said, "To tell you the truth, as long as you take a step back, everyone will be at peace. If we insist on snatching it, it is not impossible. Using a treasure to exchange for something that originally belonged to us is also to reconcile. It is better to squash enmity than to keep it alive. You don't want people watching you every day, right? Ning Shu nodded and asked curiously, since it is a reconciliation, why do I have to be the one at a disadvantage and not you guys at a disadvantage to form a friendship? She had never wanted to provoke these people. She had found something and these people insisted on sharing it. When the thing fell into her hands, they wanted to take it back. Did he think everyone else was stupid? Could it be that he was going to offer it up with both hands? Although your strength is not bad, compared to us, you are nothing, Great Gatestar said. I am really not considered a strong person in the organization. Right now, I'm the only one dealing with this matter. Once the stronger ones make their move, things will reach an irreversible stage. Tiske, on one hand, she despised her and said that she was not qualified, and on the other hand, she wanted to reconcile. While scaring him, he also looked down on him. What's the point of reconciling? They were probably trying to say, our faction is very powerful, don't go against us, we'll give you some benefits and you should stop while you're ahead. Since it was a negotiation, he should put on airs and be serious. Since it was like this, there was no way to negotiate. Ning Shu casually raised his eyelids and saw that the Grand Elder was floating in the air again. He didn't know when, but he didn't move at all. He seemed to be looking at them, but at the same time, he wasn't looking. Ning Shu was speechless. She had a feeling that he was waiting for them to start fighting. She had a feeling that he was catching her in the wrong and punishing her with all his might. Now, it was more expensive for her to process star rocks than before. Moreover, she could produce star rocks as soon as she did it. Could it be that he wanted to strip all these benefits from her? Or let her do it for free? According to the stingy nature of the organization, it was entirely possible that they would just wait here and make a big fuss out of nothing. Fuck Ju Menxing followed Ning Shu's gaze and saw the Grand Elder. His expression was a little strange, and he said to Ning Shu, it seems that you don't intend to exchange. Then this matter won't be played like this. Ning Shu glanced at the Grand Elder, patted his chest, and said to Ju Menxing, I'm so scared. If you have the ability, then come and snatch it. Ning Shu immediately waved to the Grand Elder and said, Judge, this person wants to make a move on me in the City of Laws. He wants to snatch my whip. I will never make a move in the City of Laws. Ju Menxing's expression didn't change, and he chuckled. Obviously, he was used to Ning Shu complaining. Ju Menxing turned to the Grand Elder and said, I didn't think of making a move here. It's just a small conflict. It'll be fine after we talk it out. He didn't make a move, so what was there to be afraid of? The Grand Elder floated in the air, injured, and didn't speak. He looked like a puppet or a shadow. An avatar? Then, the Grand Elder disappeared again. He didn't pay attention to Ning Shu and Ju Menxing at all. Ju Menxing's eyes were very unfriendly. Since you don't want to do this, then don't blame us for being rude. Ju Menxing lowered his voice. So what if you have an immortal body? You can't move an inch. Ning Shu pointed to Ju Menxing and said to the Grand Elder, Judge, he threatened people in front of you. Is this considered a disturbance of public order? Ju Menxing frowned. Isn't that childish? What's the point of doing this? Even if he complained, the judge wouldn't necessarily help him. The judge wouldn't take sides. Instead, he would punish according to the conditions. Ning Shu said, If I die, it must be you who did it. Ju Menxing couldn't help but laugh. A dead person? Do you think the organization will be so free as to seek justice for a dead person? So what? There's no value in seeking justice. If you die, it means you're weak. It means you're useless. You're such a weakling. Do you want others to seek justice for you? Only the living are valuable. The dead are dead. The dead were worthless. They wouldn't come back to life. Ju Menxing said, Why are you so naive? Ning Shu pursed his lips. Naive? In the future, when she really woke up, she would be innocent. You guys bullied her too much. She was just forced to resist. Ning Shu didn't expect the organization to help. She was so helpless, weak, pitiful, and bullied. She could only fight with all her might. In this situation, there was no way to continue talking. Since they couldn't reconcile, then there was no need to reconcile. Ning Shu, reconcile? What was this? She was so narrow-minded. When others came to snatch her things, she wanted to share what she found. If she didn't share, she was stingy and narrow-minded. Now, if she gave a little something and wanted to reconcile, she still wouldn't reconcile. She even gave things to others to make up for the things that happened to her before. When did she become so soft-hearted? She didn't say that it was better to have one more friend than one more enemy. Even if she did that, others might not like her. Instead, they would despise her. It was already like this. Why should she reconcile? Zhu Menxing snorted coldly and was about to leave. Ning Shu smiled and asked, "Don't you care about the people in the city lord's residence? They're at least taking the lead for you. Don't you feel bad and disappointed by doing this?" Chapter 3282. The Great Gate Star glanced at Zhang Jiasun, who didn't have much of a presence. "Would you let him out if I asked you to?" Ning Shu said, "I didn't lock him up. If he doesn't want to come out, what can I do?" The Great Gate Star was too lazy to bother with this person, so he directly broke the space seal of the mayor's residence. However, even if the space seal was lifted, Zhang Jiasun still didn't dare to come out. This was very awkward. The grand uncle appeared and disappeared mysteriously. He was here just now, but now he wasn't. What was wrong with him? Ning Shu suspected that her eyes were playing tricks on her. That was why she had seen wrongly. There must be something going on here, so the grand uncle was here. However, because the grand uncle appeared from time to time, the negotiation between Ning Shu and the Great Gate Star came to an abrupt end. There was no more discussion. In fact, both of them knew that this negotiation wouldn't succeed. It would only make things worse, and there wouldn't even be a chance to ease things up. Ning Shu was speechless. If the grand uncle didn't seem to have flashed past, he could have pulled the Great Gate Star directly into the void. Maybe he could even get a baby treasure. Although he already had a whip, he wouldn't complain about having too many treasures. Ning Shu looked at Zhang Jiasun. "Hasn't the space seal been lifted? Why don't you dare to come out?" Zhang Jiasun didn't say anything. He stayed in the mayor's residence and didn't come out. He just stayed here. What could he do? The system said, "Someone is waiting for you. The incarnation of the time precept is waiting for you. And the judge is here too. Don't make a scene. It won't do you any good." Ning Shu said, "I won't make a scene. If I wanted to, I would have done it long ago." This Zhang Jiasun was like a mouse, either hiding at the bottom of the wall or in the sewer. It was very annoying. And for some reason, the grand uncle was loitering around. In short, it was very bad. Ning Shu felt that Zhang Jiasun's luck was a bit strange. Zhang Jiasun was a cockroach that couldn't be killed. The system said, "The main system has sent a message. Everyone who is loitering in the city of the law must return to the system space now. There is a problem in the city." Ning Shu asked, "What's the problem?" The system replied, "I don't know about that. It's a request from the main system." Apparently, Zhang Jiasun had also received the news. He looked at Ning Shu and smiled before disappearing from the city lord's mansion in an instant. Ning Shu could not stay in the Law City any longer and returned to the system space. Not long after, the main system sent a message saying that from now on, the Law City would no longer have law. The laws outside the city were also removed. Ning Shu was speechless. A Law City without laws was just an ordinary space. It was impossible to comprehend laws. If that was the case, then it would be like closing a powerful door for the majority of people. After all, the power of laws was still very strong. Not to mention that many souls did not comprehend the laws. Moreover, mission enforcers had to become super mission enforcers and pass the trial to be qualified to enter the law space. Damn, she still had so many laws that she had yet to comprehend. She had only scratched the surface of space. As for time and whatnot, she had yet to comprehend it. He had not even scratched the surface of time when it came to the two high-level laws. This was really bad news. Without laws, the Law City did not need the city lord to look after it at all times. Then there would be no taxes. For a law incarnate, this was definitely a heart-wrenching pain. Although Ning Shu was no longer a law incarnate and did not need to look after the Law City, the taxes had nothing to do with her. However, she still had so many laws that she had yet to comprehend. Why was the Law City suddenly closed? Could it be that the situation in the Law Sea was already very serious? Ning Shu opened the Law Incarnate's chat group and saw a bunch of Law Incarnate crying and howling. They could not accept this at all. Some Law Incarnate were shouting and demanding an explanation from the organization. Why was it closed just like that? There was no warning at all. Ning Shu shrugged. He wanted to talk to the organization, but he could not get it. This Law City was probably a benefit given by the organization to give people a chance to comprehend the laws. However, if the organization did not provide it, there was nothing they could do. Now, they had to conserve all their energy in order to let the Law Sea linger on for a long time. Without the Law City, it would be even more difficult to comprehend the laws. They had to rely on themselves. They might not even be able to touch the edge for a lifetime. The existence of the Law City was equivalent to providing a convenient path to avoid detours. Ning Shu was not very shocked. Back then, the Law City was restricted, and now, there was no law power at all. This was within Ning Shu's expectations. When it really came, Ning Shu thought that the situation in the Law Sea was really serious. Ning Shu knew that there was a problem in the Law Sea, but many people did not know. It was related to their own interests, so these Law Incarnate went crazy. They lost so much tax for no reason, so they went crazy. Ning Shu suddenly felt a little schadenfreude. Zhang Jiasen, who had just become a Law Incarnate not long ago, now had no taxes. How distressing! However, even if it was distressing, it should be distressing for those mission enforcers who could not enter the Law City. It was equivalent to closing a powerful door. They could not comprehend a single law. Even if they became a super mission enforcer, they could not comprehend the laws. In short, this was something that made people cry out in grief. That was to say, Tai Shu might have appeared just now for this matter. Did he revoke the law power of all the Law City? It was a pity that she had not comprehended the law of time yet. There was nothing faster than being in close contact with the law. Even if the man in the Cheongsam was the Law of Time incarnate, it was useless to ask him about his comprehension. In short, the revocation of the law was a rather unfriendly thing for ordinary mission enforcers. What a pity! Of course, it was revoked. There was nothing that could be done about it. The Law Incarnate group was causing a ruckus, but they could not do anything. The organization did not give a reason for revoking the Law City. Ning Shu closed the Law Incarnate group and asked the man in the Cheongsam if he still wanted to look for treasures. The man in the Cheongsam, "I'm in a bad mood, so I won't go now." He thought that the fine would be over, but now there was no tax. He could not live like this anymore. Without the law space was just an ordinary place. How many people would be willing to come here? Then the law space's business would suffer. The living environment was getting worse and worse. Ning Shu said, "There's nothing we can do about it. If the organization closes, then so be it. Don't think too much. You're not the only one who has no money. You at least comprehended a law. Those who can't enter the Law City and don't even comprehend the law are even more unlucky." Chapter 3283. The first to become a mission enforcer, of course, had more advantages than the people behind. The Sea of Law had existed for so long, and this organization had also existed for so long. How old must the first person to become a mission enforcer be? That's true, but this kind of loss was really painful. Originally, it was a place where super mission enforcers flocked to, but now it was estimated that not many people were willing to come here. Even if it was a restricted area before, the popular Sea of Law cities were full of people. For the Cheongsam man, not only was the tax gone, but the restaurant's business was also going to be gone. Ning Shu said, "Although it may not be as good as before, it definitely won't go bankrupt. This place could be a trading space with a complete business chain. Many mission enforcers would come here to buy things, especially since every city had an auction house. There were a lot of good things in the auction house, especially some treasures found in the void world. These treasures couldn't grow in the ordinary living world. In fact, when Ning Shu wanted to find treasures in the void world, he felt that the treasures in the void world were more powerful than the treasures in the void world. Until now, Ning Shu hadn't encountered a baby treasure, and he hadn't even heard of it before. It seemed that only those who had lived for a long time in the organization and were particularly powerful people knew about this knowledge and resources. If he could find some baby treasures, it would be good. This kind of thing, whether he used it himself or sold it, would be a big fortune. It was just that the void world was too dangerous, and there were too many unknown races. She couldn't even kill locust-like insects, let alone those talented races. However, there were also a lot of treasures in the void world. If he found some, it would be best if he needed it, but if not, he would sell it. He would get some merit to raise the skeleton. He would get soul power from doing missions, and look for treasures in the void world. The Cheongsam man was not in a good mood, and he was not in the mood to look for treasures. Ning Shu thought for a moment and asked, "Can I ask you something? You don't have to answer, but I want to know." The Cheongsam man, "If you have any questions, just ask." Ning Shu, "I know you joined a faction. I want to know if it's young Master Ronghua's faction? If she belonged to that faction, her relationship with the Cheongsam man would be awkward." The man in the Cheongsam said firmly, "No, don't worry. But even if I'm from that faction, that's a conflict between you and that faction. I don't have any conflict with you, so it won't affect our relationship. Although I was born in a faction, the decisions and policies of the faction are not something I can control. Similarly, the faction cannot stop or decide who I associate with and what I associate with." Hearing the Cheongsam man say this, Ning Shu was relieved. So far, the Cheongsam man had been very reliable. If there really was a conflict, then they could talk about it. It wouldn't affect their relationship. Ning Shu asked, "Are we going to the Nihility world now?" Now that she had money, she could buy scrolls from the elders. "All right, let's go now. If we don't get more food now, we will starve to death in the future." The man in the Cheongsam was clearly worried about the future. Ning Shu arrived at the Time City. When he came to the Time City again, he felt that the Time City was different. In the past, there was always a kind of pressure. It was the power of the law. But now, there was no such power. Ning Shu felt that his soul was about to float. It was like the moon that had no gravity. When he stepped on the ground, it felt soft. Ning Shu walked into the restaurant and said to the man in the Cheongsam, "Let's eat first." The man in the Cheongsam said helplessly. There was a hint of melancholy between his eyebrows. He suddenly became a melancholy, beautiful man. Ning Shu didn't have much resistance to such a change. After all, he didn't place all his hopes on the organization. Ning Shu said, "You don't have to worry. Even if the sky falls, there are tall people to hold it up. What are you worried about?" The higher-ups of the organization were definitely more worried than the man in the Cheongsam. The man in the Cheongsam frowned and said, "When the tree is about to fall, the insects, rats, snakes, and ants that rely on the tree to live will feel it first." That was true. After all, low-level people like them were the most sensitive. If there was any change in the organization, it would be like an earthquake or a tsunami to the people below. Ning Shu said, "No matter what happens in the future, let's take care of the present. If we are stronger now, we will have a higher chance of winning. A higher chance of survival might not be able to give birth to a new sea of law in the future." Ning Shu always felt that this matter was quite mysterious. The sea of law was something that was born from the heavens. Because of the energy body, it gave birth to a plane that could allow living beings to survive. Now it was struggling at death's door. It was estimated that its energy was almost exhausted. What could he do? There was nothing he could do even if he was worried for nothing. The man in the Cheongsam asked the waiter to serve a table full of plates. Ning Shu was a little surprised. "Why are you suddenly so willing? There's no one here. If no one is here to eat, then let's eat by ourselves." Ning Shu looked at the restaurant's hall. Sure enough, there was no one here. Now that everyone was focused on the problem of the sea of law, how could they be in the mood to eat? Ning Shu did not stand on ceremony and directly picked up his chopsticks to eat. The man in the Cheongsam looked at Ning Shu's carefree appearance and could not help but say, "Don't you feel anything in your heart? You are the city lord of 3 Sea of Law. Why don't you have any reaction?" Ning Shu said, "I haven't collected taxes in a long time. Also, my nomological imprint has collapsed. Although he could use the power of the laws, he was no longer the embodiment of the laws. The man in the cheongsam was speechless. No wonder she was so indifferent. It turned out that it had nothing to do with her. She did not lose anything, so she naturally did not care. Ning Shu said, "Don't frown. Your face has become like this. It's really ugly." The two of them ate so much that they finished all the food on the table and went to look for Elder Qi. Elder Qi was still sitting at the stall calmly, stroking his beard. When he saw that there was business, he was not in a hurry. Compared to the other worried people, such as the man in the cheongsam, Elder Qi acted as if nothing had happened and asked, "Where are we going?" Ning Shu was not very familiar with these natural treasures and said, "What's popular recently?" "There's a lot. Recently, the body-strengthening fruit and the spirit stone are more popular." "What do you think we should look for?" Ning Shu asked the man in the cheongsam. The man in the cheongsam said, "Are there any energy crystals?" "This thing, we don't have it so far." Elder Qi rummaged through the items and finally found a scroll. Usually, not many people come looking for this kind of thing. It's all supplied internally. Whether or not this world has it, you guys can try your luck. Chapter 3286. In the world of nothingness, some powers couldn't be used at all. Moreover, he didn't know if these tree roots could attack. If they did, it would be quite terrifying. After all, the entire underground was filled with tree roots, and these tree roots were very thick. It can be done. How do you know if you don't try? Life was about constantly creating and trying. Anyway, he wouldn't die. Relying on his immortality, he could do many things that he didn't dare to do before. The cheongsam man could only risk his life to accompany the little girl. He condensed a weapon and then cut at the tree roots. The mine was very small. Someone had cut off the tree roots in the past to create such a hole. With so many tree roots, no one could tell which tree's roots they were. Ning Shu condensed an axe. It was the best to use an axe to cut tree roots. With some mental strength attached to the soul force, the weapon would be more aggressive. However, these tree roots were very hard. After cutting them, they came back with a clang. In the past, those people found mineral veins and even created a mine. It was really not easy. Ning Shu increased the output of his mental strength and used it to cut the tree roots. Under the effect of mental strength, the tree roots were cut off. However, they were embedded in the soil and needed to be cut twice. It was really laborious. Ning Shu said, "I'll wait. We have to find someone who can dig. Not to mention that we have to work so hard. If we don't dig anything, wouldn't it be a waste of effort?" Ning Shu summoned Zhu Jun. The cheongsam man's expression was indifferent and numb to the skeletons that appeared out of thin air. After all, he had seen them before. In the battlefield in the void, the cheongsam man had seen skeletons before. However, that was the army of His Excellency. A mission enforcer could have skeletons. The cheongsam man's heart was very good. Were these skeletons hers or borrowed from His Excellency? Even if they were borrowed, they would definitely have to be returned. From the state of these two people, it was clear that they were on the same side. However, this was other people's private matter and related to their trump card. The cheongsam man couldn't ask rashly. Ning Shu asked Zhu Jun to temporarily take care of the baby for the earthworm and asked the earthworm to come over. "Zhu Jun, if there's anything, just say it. You don't have to call it over. We can do it." He didn't want to take care of the child at all. He would rather work. Children and whatnot were the most annoying and terrifying. Ning Shu said, "Let's call it over. It's good at drilling." Zhu Jun looked at the mine and said, "Are you going to deal with these roots? Find a few more skeletons and pull them out with your bare hands." Ning Shu, that he really liked this kind of violent method, but he couldn't waste his strength. He had to wait until he was sure if there was anything inside before he could forcefully remove it. The cheongsam man's eyelids twitched. This was a violent demolition team. However, it saved him a lot of effort. Therefore, the cheongsam man liked to cooperate with Ning Shu. Every time, he felt like he could win without doing anything. It couldn't get any better. And if there were any benefits, he would get a share. Zhu Jun could only return. Not long after, there were earthworms, no eels now. The earthworm asked, "What are you doing?" Ning Shu told Earthworm about this matter. Earthworm was very unhappy. "Why do you always make me do these things?" Of course, it was to make the best use of everything. The earthworms began to drill into the soil, starting from the gaps between the roots. The Cheongsam man looked at Earthworm curiously. What kind of creature was this? It looked slippery and ugly. Earthworm started to work. Ning Shu waited for Earthworm to come back. If there was something, he would continue to dig. If there was nothing, he would stay in the mine for a while and let the world tree absorb the remaining energy. The world tree in his palm was absorbing as much energy as possible. Ning Shu was very good. What was this? Was it the same as the energy body born in the void? The Cheongsam man was a little far from Ning Shu. If he stood close, the two world trees would compete for energy. If he stood a little further away, the two world trees wouldn't compete for energy. The energy was thin. Looking at the world tree in Ning Shu's hand, the Cheongsam man was a little puzzled. His world tree was a small seedling, and the other party's was just a seed. How could it grow so fast now? It didn't make sense at all. Could it be that his world tree had absorbed energy before? The man in the Cheongsam sighed and touched the tree of world in his palm. He felt that his child was a disappointment. But what could he do? It was his child. If it absorbed as much energy as possible, it might achieve a qualitative change. Ning Shu saw that the Cheongsam man was staring at him with resentment. He couldn't help but ask, "Why are you looking at me like that?" She had never lied to the Cheongsam man. The Cheongsam man said, "Nothing." Ning Shu's feet moved, and a pile of soil arched up. The earthworm came out. It shook the soil off its body. Ning Shu quickly asked, "How's the investigation going?" There were too many roots. His spiritual power couldn't penetrate them. The earthworm said, "It depends on what you're looking for. It's a crystal with energy. Anyway, it's something that contains energy, no matter what state it is in." The earthworm said, "Oh, I found a dark river. That river seems to have some energy." A dark river? Damn, the energy of a river was so powerful. Did the river have energy, or did the river contain something with energy? The Cheongsam man asked, "What did it say?" The earthworm couldn't speak, so the Cheongsam man couldn't hear what it was saying. Ning Shu said, "I found a dark river. It said that it has energy." Cultivating creatures were very sensitive to energy. They could sense any kind of energy. The Cheongsam man was stunned. A dark river? He thought that there might be a mineral vein or nothing, but he didn't expect it to be a dark river. Now that he thought about it, it was normal. Plants needed water and sunlight. Even if there was no water and sunlight, plants needed energy. Ning Shu said to the earthworm, "Lead the way. Take the shortest path." Ning Shu summoned the skeletons. There were more skeletons this time, and he needed them to help him get the roots. It would take a long time for the two of them to get the roots. The skeletons were all holding weapons. The earthworm led the way, and the skeletons were handling the roots. Ning Shu and the Cheongsam man walked behind. It didn't take much effort. Ning Shu looked at the skeletons with love. The more merit these skeletons ate, the stronger they became. At the same time, they became stronger. They would definitely grow into violent skeletons in the future. This kind of work was easy for the skeletons. In the future, they would process more star stones and earn more money for the skeletons to eat. Although the earthworm walked closer, it still took a long time to process. The two of them followed behind for a long time. /BK Chapter 3287. With the earthworm leading the way, they finally found the underground river. The underground river wasn't big. It was calm and flowing slowly. The water vapor around it was full of energy. Ning Shu reached out and touched the water. A force was transmitted to his body from the water. At the same time, the world tree was absorbing the energy crazily. The underground river was underground, so it was impossible to see what was at the bottom of the river or what was dangerous. The world tree wanted to leave Ning Shu's body and jump into the river to absorb the energy. Leave the soul? Ning Shu didn't control the world tree anymore. Since it wanted to jump into the river, then so be it. The world tree floated out of Ning Shu's palm to the surface of the river and took root in the underground river. The Cheongsam man was in a tug-of-war with the world tree. The world tree wanted to leave his body, but the Cheongsam man was worried that something would happen to it. Most importantly, if it left, could it return to his body? Seeing Ning Shu casually let the world tree out like a child throwing a stone into the river, he didn't care at all. The Cheongsam man asked, "You're just going to let it in?" Ning Shu asked back, "What else can I do? It can go in if it wants to." This way, the world tree could absorb more energy by itself. Seeing that the Cheongsam man didn't put the world tree in the underground river, Ning Shu was a little puzzled. "What are you doing? Why don't you let the world tree absorb the energy?" The Cheongsam man. He felt really depressed. Well, the world tree was now what the Cheongsam man relied on. The more he cared about it, the more he was worried about it, and the more he couldn't let go. It was just like how the peerless martial arts were to Ning Shu. If he didn't care about it, he wouldn't be so worried. Ning Shu wasn't so worried about the peerless martial arts either. It was good that he had it. If he didn't have it, he would just treat it as something he had to lose in life. It wasn't a big deal. Ning Shu was very open now. It didn't matter if he had the world tree or not. The Cheongsam man thought for a moment. It made sense. If he had it, the world tree wouldn't be able to absorb the energy freely. Her world tree was rooted in the river, and there was already a lot of water vapor around it. It seemed that the energy was concentrated around the world tree. The man in the Cheongsam no longer hesitated. He let the world tree leave his body and take root in the underground river. However, the two trees were quite far away from each other to avoid competing for energy with each other. The two of them had nothing to do, so they began to study the river. Since it was a river, there must be a source. Where was the source? Perhaps the source of the energy would be even denser, or there might even be energy crystals. If that was the case, then it would be worth it. Ning Shu and the Cheongsam man looked at each other. The Cheongsam man took the lead and said, "Why don't we go and find the source?" Speaking of finding the source, Ning Shu thought of the spirit stone. He had also found the source in the same way, and then found a big problem. He was a little annoyed by people like the spiritual stone. They were strong and willful. He could do whatever he wanted. He was born and raised by the earth. His birth point was the end point of others. Moreover, he did not listen to others at all. He only thought about what he wanted to do. He was comfortable, but when it came to her, he felt like exploding on the spot. Ning Shu could not afford to offend a person who pointed a knife at her at any time. Most importantly, he was born to be superior to others. It seemed that it was an honor to follow him. There was no one related to him at all. Why should he tolerate him? He did not want such an honor. The Cheongsam man obviously remembered that time. He suppressed his desire to find the source and said, "Obviously, the world tree is absorbing energy. Let's wait until it has absorbed enough energy. If something goes wrong, retreat immediately." Ning Shu nodded. That was the way it should be. He was not afraid of encountering any powerful creatures. He was only afraid of intelligent creatures that insisted on pestering him. Ning Shu was afraid of such things. The earthworm lay beside Ning Shu and asked, "Can I go back now?" "Don't be so anxious. There's still a while. By the way, why don't you go along the river and see what the source looks like?" The earthworm was very unhappy. "Why are you so troublesome?" "I'm going back." Ning Shu asked, "Why are you in such a hurry to go back?" The earthworm said, "I'm worried about the child. God knows if that skeleton can take good care of him. Besides, he's a skeleton. His whole body is hard. How could such a person take care of the child? What if he was too strong and hurt the child's skin? Now the child was white and fat. If he used a little strength, there would be red marks on his skin. How could these violent skeletons know the severity of the situation?" Ning Shu said with relief, "You're really a qualified mother or a qualified father?" The earthworm spat and despised Ning Shu. "Who's like you? You have a child for no reason and then throw the child away. Liren was like this, and now this child is like this." Ning Shu said, "I know you are a person full of maternal love, so I'm very assured of you. How about 10 merit grains to find the source?" 10 merit grains were more than 10,000 merit points. She couldn't even get that much from a mission. The earthworm was troubled and shook her head. No, I want to go back. Ning Shu said, 11. The earthworm reluctantly shook her head. I still want to go back. Ning Shu said, okay 12. Go to the source. If there's any danger, retreat immediately. Don't fight it head-on. The earthworm nodded and started following the river in the opposite direction. Ning Shu propped up his chin and watched as the world tree absorbed the energy and expanded her consciousness. Her spiritual power hadn't taken shape yet. However, Ning Shu wasn't in a hurry. If it didn't take shape, it meant that it had great potential in the future. There was no need to rush. The most important thing now was to expand the consciousness. The bigger her consciousness, the better. That way, she could hold more spiritual power in the future. Once her spirit took shape, her spiritual power would experience a qualitative leap. It couldn't be better. Gradually, Link's world tree was surrounded by energy. As the world tree absorbed the energy, its trunk and branches grew bigger and bigger. The bigger it got, the more energy it absorbed. In the end, the two world trees started fighting for the energy. Ning Shu and the man in the Cheongsam watched. As for how much they could take, it depended on the world trees. For now, Ning Shu's world tree had the upper hand. After all, it had developed slightly before. Later, the advantage would increase. The man in the Cheongsam didn't speak. He just sighed. There was nothing he could do. The two world trees grew bigger and bigger. They couldn't grow any longer. If they grew any longer, they would reach the ceiling of the cave. The branches of the two trees intertwined. As if fighting for sunlight, they kept growing. Chapter 3288. The earthworm came back and crawled out of the soil. Ning Shu quickly asked, how was it? Did you find anything? The earthworm shook off the soil on its body and said, nothing special. It's just a pool of spring water. Nothing else. Ning Shu asked, is there more energy in the spring water? Since it was the source of the spring, did the energy in the underground river come from it? The earthworm said, there's no energy. It's just an ordinary spring. Ning Shu was stunned. Why was there no energy at all? This was not scientific. Ning Shu could not help but ask, where did the energy in the underground river come from? This was strange. He had always felt that there should be energy at the source, but there was no energy at all. Really? What do you mean by real? Go and see for yourself, the earthworm said angrily. Ning Shu touched his chin and pondered. Where did the energy come from? There was no energy in the spring. How would I know? You should pay me for my service. 12 grams of merit points. The earthworm stretched out its tail like a snake and asked for something. Ning Shu took out 12 merit grains and gave them to the earthworm. She wanted the earthworm to get used to this kind of transaction so that it could do things more efficiently in the future. More than 10 merit grains were nothing to Ning Shu. Another person gave a few merit grains to the skeletons, and the skeletons also contributed. Then I'll go back? The earthworm asked uncertainly. Ning Shu said, I'll give you 20 merit grains. The earthworm looked at Ning Shu warily. What do you want me to do? Ning Shu said, nothing. I just want you to find a source of energy. If you find it, there will be a lot of benefits. The earthworm shook its head. I don't know. This place is too big. I can't find it at all. Besides, I have to go back. The earthworm missed its baby at home. Ning Shu frowned and said, why can't you find it? As long as there's energy, you can definitely find it. Can't you sense the energy? The earthworm sneered. Then why can't you sense it? Ning Shu said, because I don't know how to drill. The earthworm was speechless. So infuriating. The earthworm said, I don't think it's the effect of the spring. It's the river that gathers the surrounding energy. It has nothing to do with the spring. It's just like the soul stone mine. It's formed after absorbing soul power. It's not a place that has soul power to begin with. There are also spirit chi veins. They are also formed by absorbing spirit chi from places with abundant spirit chi. Ning Shu looked at the earthworm. What you said makes sense. I didn't expect you to be so knowledgeable. Earthworm, he must be mocking it. Ning Shu let the earthworm go back. He saw that the earthworm was eager to return home, as if someone was waiting for him at home. Doll was still a baby and didn't know anything. After the earthworm left, the Cheongsam man asked, "Did you find anything?" Ning Shu shook his head. "I didn't find it. There was only the mouth of the spring, but there was no energy. It should be that when the underground river was flowing, it gathered the surrounding energy." The Cheongsam man was a little disappointed, but that was all. After all, when he bought this world, he didn't expect to find it. Now that he found an underground river, it was already very good. For the world tree to absorb for so long, there was actually a lot of energy in the river. Ning Shu believed the earthworm's words. Besides, there was no need for the earthworm to lie to him. They would have to deal with each other in the future. Since there was no harvest from the mouth of the spring, Ning Shu let the skeletons go back. He waited for the world tree to finish absorbing the energy. He didn't know if it could finish absorbing it. If it couldn't, Ning Shu planned to remember the location of the space node of this world. When the world tree absorbed and digested the energy, it would absorb it again. The world tree absorbed and its speed slowed down. Obviously, it had reached its limit. Even if there was still energy in the river, it had reached its absorption limit. When the world tree couldn't absorb any more, it would return to its previous weak state. A grain of sand was a world. The size of the outside didn't determine how big the inside was. Ning Shu took back the world tree. It was still the same as before. The world tree returned to Ning Shu's palm and was successfully taken back. The man in the Cheongsam put away the world tree and heaved a sigh of relief. He had finally taken it back. He had been afraid that the world tree wouldn't be able to be taken back. This thing was related to his future, so it was inevitable that he would be stingy. He had no choice but to pin all his hopes on this. The man in the Cheongsam asked, "What do we do next? Do we still need to investigate the energy?" Ning Shu shook his head. "No, there's no need. Let's wait for the world tree to digest it. They would come again next time." The man in the Cheongsam understood instantly. Just like in the world of the kidney-strengthening fruit, he would remember the location of the space node. Then he could enter this place in the future. The man in the Cheongsam said, "Bring me next time." Ning Shu said, "Come if you want, but I only have one request. Don't tell anyone about this." Although there was no wall in the world that didn't leak, they would keep it a secret for as long as possible. Speaking of which, they were also poor. They were all picking up the leftovers of others. However, there were also benefits to this. They could dig deeper and dig out better things. Everyone had a blind spot. If they persevered a little longer, they might be able to find something better. Of course, there was also the possibility that there would be nothing at all. The man in the Cheongsam wanted to sigh. "I would like to come, but my understanding of space hasn't reached the level of building a space channel, so I can't come here myself." Ning Shu nodded. The space law was really difficult. She was about to cry because of this law. It was extremely difficult. "At least you are the embodiment of the time law," Ning Shu comforted him. "The time law can't let me go wherever I want. There are restrictions. Time could be said to be invincible in terms of avoiding many injuries. It could even form a small area of rapid time flow, 1 time, 10 times, or 100 times faster. How could ordinary people withstand the ravages of time? In almost 10 minutes, one could become an old man or an old lady. It was not a myth that one would age instantly. Time was a very powerful weapon. Nothing could escape the punishment of time. Therefore, the man in the Cheongsam was quite powerful. Now that the Law City was gone, it was not as convenient to comprehend the laws as before. Ning Shu also wanted to sigh. "I also have a lot of laws that I haven't comprehended yet, especially time. Why don't you teach me the time law and I'll teach you the space law?" The man in the Cheongsam nodded. "We'll talk about it later. I definitely want to comprehend the space law." Previously, when the Law City was still around, he wanted to take his time to comprehend it. There was no rush. Who would have thought that the Law City would be gone in such a short time? Chapter 3289. She couldn't get close to the laws anymore. Comprehending the laws required one to comprehend wisps of power from heaven and earth. It wasn't as convenient as being in the law space, where she could come into contact with the laws anytime and anywhere. Previously, she felt that the space law was more difficult, so she wanted to slowly comprehend it. Ning Shu felt that if it weren't for the star stones, which could be used to store the law of nothingness, he might not have risked his life to comprehend the law of space. Otherwise, she wouldn't have been able to comprehend the space law until now. In the space law city, her comprehension was already extremely slow. If she were to capture the power of the laws between heaven and earth, it would be even more difficult. It could only be said that learning early was better than learning late. Should we go back now or continue to stroll around this world? The Cheongsam man asked. This world seems to be free of danger. There were only plants and no animals. The system reminded at the right time, Ning Shu, you should do the mission. There's a backlog of missions. When Ning Shu heard this, he said to the Cheongsam man, let's not stroll around. There's plenty of time in the future. I'm going to do the mission. My soul is weak. The most important thing now was to increase the strength of his soul. With the help of the kidney-strengthening fruit, his soul would become reinforced concrete. Ning Shu directly marked the space node of this river. The next time he appeared, he would appear directly next to this underground river. It also saved him the time of running around and looking everywhere. Ning Shu and the Cheongsam man returned to the system space. Ning Shu still remembered what he had promised the system before. He took out a kidney-strengthening fruit and asked the system, how should I give it to you? Where are you? Just give it to me, the system said. The kidney-strengthening fruit in Ning Shu's hand floated up and then passed through the wall of the space system. Ning Shu was very surprised. He walked over and touched the wall. He wanted to pass through, but it was impossible. Ning Shu asked, are there two rooms in the system space? You're here and I'm over there? The system said, yes. The mission taker and the system have their own space. They don't disturb each other. Okay, he didn't know there was a room next door. Jingqing used to stay next door. The system said, thank you for the fruit. Ning Shu said casually, don't worry about it. There were plenty. However, Ning Shu didn't finish his sentence. Ning Shu asked curiously, I want to know how your system became so powerful. Did you absorb wild systems? Previously, Zheng Qing had said that the system needed to evolve and become stronger, so she had done many system missions in the past. The system said, when you reach a certain level of achievement, the main system will reward you with merit points. Then, you will undergo merit body sculpting and walk another path. Ning Shu understood. So the system was just a novice village for these systems. Once the system was qualified, there would be other arrangements. Since they could absorb merit, then, will you join the army? Only the souls of soldiers would be able to absorb merit points. Mission enforcers would not be able to absorb merit points because they had to complete missions and could not have too much merit points on them. The system said, probably. It seemed like the system had its own powerful connections. The organization had already arranged everything. Ning Shu was a little surprised. Since you can absorb merit, why do you still need to eat the kidney-strengthening fruit? The system said, eating the kidney-strengthening fruit is equivalent to building a foundation. It's better to eat it every time. Ning Shu felt more comfortable talking to the system. At least, the system would answer her questions appropriately, unlike in the past when it was always perfunctory. If it really couldn't, the system would just say, you don't have the authority to know. This sentence directly shut her up. At that time, she was just an ant. After all, humans didn't care about reasons. Who was Jingqing? She was born from the world and crawled out of the sea of laws. Why would she care about a lowly human like her? If she could be perfunctory, she would be perfunctory. Even if she wanted to have a good relationship with her, she couldn't be friends. But she didn't even treat her as someone on the same level. She didn't even have the chance to turn an enemy into a friend. Because she didn't have the right. Although she was as lowly as dust, fortunately she wasn't twisted like a maggot. Now, the system could at least talk and communicate properly. After chatting for a while, Ning Shu began to observe her world tree. The world tree, which had absorbed energy, seemed to be dormant now. Now, it was motionless and wouldn't appear in her palm. After this, the world tree would probably undergo a qualitative change. Ning Shu was very curious about the energy in that world that could make the plants grow so luxuriantly. And it wasn't the power of the wood law. If it was, she would be able to sense it very quickly. What was this energy? Could souls be used for themselves? Was it the same as the energy in the void? Ning Shu asked the system. The system directly said, "Sorry, this is beyond my scope of knowledge. You can ask the main system. The main system should know." Such top-secret knowledge was only known to the upper echelons. She probably still had to pay for it. It would be strange if the main system could answer her rashly. If she wanted to know the answer, she had to obediently go to the consultation room and spend money to ask. Ning Shu was too lazy to ask. As long as it was good for the world, it was fine. And she might even get free information from the Cheongsam man. After all, the Cheongsam man had a faction behind him, and it was unknown how big the faction was. She felt that the Cheongsam man, an incarnation of the time law, was like a peripheral figure. She probably didn't have a high ranking in the organization. Once the Cheongsam man built the world and the world tree succeeded, her status would probably be raised. If the Cheongsam man could get any information, she would share it with him. If the Cheongsam man couldn't get it, she would go directly to the consultation room to ask. She would earn back the star stones by processing it twice. Ning Shu took out the kidney-strengthening fruit and began to chew. He chewed until his teeth hurt. He asked the system, "Can you chew it?" The system said, "I can't chew it." Ning Shu asked, "Then how do you eat it?" The system said, "I use my tongue to lick it." Ning Shu was speechless. Imagining this scene, it felt really wretched. It was disillusioned in an instant. Ning Shu smiled and said, "Can I? I can even lick it." The system said, "Can I? It will melt in your mouth." "Do you think it's sugar? How can it melt in your mouth? How can a lump of iron melt in your mouth?" It was only now that Ning Shu felt that the system was a little mundane. It had always been businesslike before. However, she seemed to have been holding it in her mouth before. She cut it into pieces and then held it in her mouth. All right, they were both stupid. Let's not talk about each other. However, she didn't use her tongue to lick it. It was unsightly. Ning Shu couldn't get rid of the image of the system holding a fruit and licking the kidney-strengthening fruit. Ning Shu said, "Stop licking. I have a knife here. Cut it into pieces and hold it in your mouth." Chapter 3291. Ning Shu always felt that she was being despised, or even despised by a peerless martial art. Was what he was doing the opposite of the ultimate martial art's evolution direction? So the ultimate martial art didn't let him in. Did the ultimate martial art have such advanced intelligence? The system said, "Someone is waiting for you over there. He's asking if you were swallowed by the law of nothingness." Ning Shu said, "Bullshit, he was the one who was swallowed." No, Jingqing was the one who was swallowed. Ning Shu put the ultimate martial art into the ring space and jumped back to his previous position in the void. The Grand Elder was standing in the void, looking at Ning Shu expressionlessly. "You were in such a hurry to find someone, but then you disappeared. Have some integrity." Ning Shu said, "There was a problem in the beginning, but there's no problem for now. You came for nothing." Ning Shu said, "In order to express my gratitude, let me see Jingqing. If I provoke Jingqing, I might be able to speed up the law of nothingness's swallowing of Jingqing." Jingqing had always thought that she was dead, but now she had appeared in front of him. "Were you surprised? Were you surprised?" The Grand Elder rolled his eyes at Ning Shu, his glasses glowing with a cold luster. He said, "You want to see Jingqing that much?" What was he thinking? Of course, I want to see Jingqing very much. After all, we've been together for so long, and we have some feelings for each other. The Grand Elder snorted. No. He was about to leave when Ning Shu immediately reached out his hand. Wait. The Grand Elder looked at him. Ning Shu said, "At least give me the location of the space node. If there's a problem with the law of nothingness in the future, I can find it immediately and deal with it." The Grand Elder laughed. If one more person knew the location, Jingqing would have a better chance of escaping. Who knew if some people's brains would be filled with sulfuric acid and try to get him out? Ning Shu, don't keep laughing. Say something. If you tell me the location of my spatial node, I won't tell anyone else. And you can rest assured that with my relationship with Xingqing, I won't do anything. Besides, there's nothing between us. Whether or not Xingqing had fused with the law of nothingness had nothing to do with her. No, if Xingqing had fused with the law of nothingness, it would be very disadvantageous for her. Thus, it was best for Xingqing to stay within the law of nothingness. 100 years, 1 year, 10,000 years. For a long, long time. If Xingqing was fused with the law of nothingness, it had nothing to do with her. After all, she wasn't the one who pressed Xingqing inside. Xingqing could blame anyone but her. Grand Uncle frowned and stretched out his hand. Give me that world. I'll deal with it directly. She was so annoying every day, so it was better to solve it once and for all. Ning Shu immediately took a step back and said, "That won't do. It's mine. Since it's yours, then don't trouble me whenever something happens. If you can't deal with it, you have to keep it." Grand Uncle frowned, looking a little irritated. Obviously, he was very irritated by the person in front of him. Ning Shu felt that something was wrong and immediately retreated far away. "There won't be any trouble in the future," Ning Shu said and jumped away. He didn't necessarily need the organization's help. And if there was a problem, he could directly take it into the void. There was nothing to be afraid of. For some powerful races, the law of nothingness wasn't considered powerful. Xingqing had been soaked in it for so long. Why hadn't he been assimilated? Ning Shu's iron head hit the spatial wall. The surrounding space was sealed, and now she couldn't get out. Ning Shu looked at Grand Uncle and asked, "What's the meaning of this? Are you going to rob me?" Grand Uncle said, "You're leaving just like that." Ning Shu blinked. "Is there anything else? I can deal with the world myself. I've dealt with it. Deal with star stones for free 500 times. That's the reward this time." Ning Shu didn't have much to say. Although he had to deal with it himself, he had to pay Grand Uncle for making a trip. However, the service attitude wasn't good. It wasn't as good as Sang Liang's attitude. Could he give a bad review if he didn't come for a long time? Ning Shu just said, "Got it? I'll deal with it. Can I leave now?" Ning Shu looked at Grand Uncle warily. This person had always said that he would destroy her will. It was hard to guarantee that he wouldn't kill her now, although she didn't have anything good on her. Grand Uncle couldn't be bothered to talk. He flashed and left. The surrounding space was also removed. How much was 500 times? Ning Shu counted with his fingers. He could deal with 500 to 600 times each time. He would treat it as a free transaction. Fortunately, the law of nothingness wasn't a problem for the time being. As for whether there was a way, Ning Shu didn't know at all. After all, he couldn't even enter the world now. He didn't know what was going on inside. Ning Shu didn't stay in the void and returned to the system space. Looking at the peerless martial arts, he felt very tired. The situation of the peerless martial arts was like a bomb. And he didn't know how to deal with this bomb. Ning Shu said to the system, "Let's go do the mission." Now that the peerless martial arts seemed safer, there was nothing to do for the time being. The system said, "It might not work. The main system wants you to deal with the star stones now." Ning Shu was speechless. What kind of speed was this? He had just said that there would be 500 free transactions. As soon as he returned to the system space, the main system asked him to deal with the star stones. It felt like not many people were willing to deal with this thing. Otherwise, Grand Uncle wouldn't have caught a person and offered 500 free transactions. He had no choice but to ask for help from others. Ning Shu could only say, "Then go deal with the star stones." Ning Shu built a space channel according to the location of the space node and rushed to the place where the plane was damaged. As soon as Ning Shu appeared, many people focused their eyes on him. Ning Shu was a little puzzled. "Why are you looking at me?" He heard that the person who took over this time was someone he didn't know and hadn't seen before. When he saw Ning Shu coming, he handed the item to Ning Shu. He started to feel distressed when he started to deal with it. This person was standing next to the pearl and didn't leave. Ning Shu looked at him and asked, What's the matter? You don't know me? He asked. Ning Shu asked back, should I know you? It was the first time they met. The big shots who dealt with fragments or star stones were more or less familiar, but he really didn't know this person. Isn't it your fortune? People like us who are so busy have to start dealing with the star stones. Ning Shu raised his eyebrows. Was he looking for trouble? Ning Shu shook his head and said, you guys are not dealing with the star stones because of me. It's clearly the organization's decision. How can you blame me? Chapter 3292. Besides, you should go to the Great Gate Planet for the cause of this matter. It was the Great Gate Planet who dragged you down. You are all busy, but others are not. The other party was here to find trouble, so Ning Shu naturally had to show a noble and cold attitude. The man looked at Ning Shu. You are as sharp-tongued as the Great Gate Planet said. I am sharp-tongued. If you don't come up, why would I bite you? Ning Shu dealt with the star stone and ignored his existence. The man said, are you interested in joining our faction? Ning Shu, burp, what kind of twist was this? Why did he want to join a faction now? Ning Shu said, I won't join a faction. Not to mention the friction with the Great Gate Planet, once he really joined a faction, would he have to hand in the Holy Whip? Joining a faction meant that he would be protected by the faction, and at the same time, he would have to fight for the interests of the faction. The Holy Whip in his hand was something that the Great Gate Planet had always wanted to take back. The Great Gate Planet was very persistent. They wanted to take it away from him again and again. It seemed that they would not give up. After joining such an organization, there would still be a gap, and it would not be easy for everyone to get along. Now, this faction had changed its strategy of conciliation, using both soft and hard methods. The man said, I am not a member of the same faction as the Great Gate Planet. Ning Shu. Then why did you look like you were here to find trouble? Since the other party was not an enemy, Ning Shu's attitude was much better. He showed a formulaic smile and said, I have not thought of joining any faction for the time being. After all, people like me don't like to be controlled. Who knew what would be asked to do if he joined an organization? Since he had joined a faction, he had to do his best for the interests of the faction. Just like young Master Ronghua and the Great Gate Planet. Once something happened, he had to take the lead and run for the interests of the organization. She was free now. Except for being slightly controlled by the organization, she could go wherever she wanted. She could do whatever she wanted. Joining a faction meant that she had more responsibilities. He wanted to be a free wanderer. The man said, the factions won't control you. In fact, filming is just a way to exchange information. It's just a group of people coming together. It's not as complicated as you think. Ning Shu curiously asked, why are you looking for me? Other than the fact that the greedy wolf star needed manpower and wanted her to join the organization as a subordinate, why did this person do that? The man looked at Ning Shu's vigilant look and asked, what are you afraid of? Ning Shu shook his head. I'm not afraid. I'm just annoyed. Previously, it was the greedy wolf star. Then, Ronghua Gongzi came over to snatch the fruit. Now it was the giant gate star. He pulled aside the vines and brought out the melon. The man said, isn't joining a faction also a way to save one's life? People from the same faction will stick together and keep each other warm. Save her life? She didn't need to save her life. Even if they wanted to erase her will, it wouldn't be easy. How could they kill her? Why couldn't he die? Ning Shu nodded. I know, but I still have to decline your invitation. Also, I want to ask why you want to invite me to join the faction. The man said, the faction also needs to absorb new blood and strong people. Of course, it doesn't just absorb strong people. It also needs to train people. Ning Shu asked, so you decided to train me? The man shook his head. No, it's just that your strength has reached the level that the faction can absorb. Of course, there are benefits to joining the faction. I see. Should she applaud at this moment? This meant that her strength had been recognized. Actually, it didn't matter if others recognized her or not. What was important was that she didn't always meet someone who thought that she was easy to bully and wanted to rub her fur. Rub people's fur until they exploded. If a tiger doesn't show its power, do you think I'm Hello Kitty? Ning Shu smiled. It was the kind of smile that had to be twisted and pretentious. She said, "Thank you for thinking so highly of me. Although I won't join the organization, we can have friendly interactions." As long as they didn't come to find trouble with her, Ning Shu didn't need to make their relationship bad. The friendship between gentlemen was as clear as water. She was probably already on the organization's dangerous list now. The kind that was somewhat uncontrollable. Seeing that Ning Shu wasn't willing to join the faction, the man couldn't say anything more. Forcing people to join the faction like they were hungry and thirsty made the faction seem like it had no dignity. Moreover, the other party's attitude was good. If he continued to force them, they might even become enemies. It wasn't in his interest to become enemies for no reason. Then let's keep in touch in the future. But I have to start processing the star stones now. We can meet when the shift changes. Let me know when you've thought it through. The man didn't stay any longer and left directly. Ning Shu started to process the star stones. Actually, there were many people in the organization who could process the star stones. In the end, only a few people were busy. The system's voice sounded in Ning Shu's mind. He said, "Actually, you can hang your name in a faction. You think too much of a faction. It's actually a place for information exchange. If there's any movement in the organization, there's always a source of information. The faction can know immediately and take countermeasures. There's only benefits." Ning Shu shook his head. "I don't really care about the movement in the organization. No matter what the organization did, it didn't matter if they got the news in advance." He heard that they were no longer focused on the organization. It was still the same sentence. If the organization collapsed one day, or if the Sea of Laws was no longer there, she would still be alive. If she couldn't die, what was there to worry about? The system said, "I'm just giving you a suggestion. It's up to you whether you want to accept it or not. Thank you for your trouble." At least the system said these words for her own good. She didn't accept it, but she received the intention. Ning Shu hummed a little tune and started to process the star stones. Although he didn't get paid for it when he thought about his peerless martial arts, he didn't have so much conflict in his heart. People had to learn to find joy in the midst of pain. Ning Shu dealt with the star stone in one go, and then rushed to the next place where the plane was damaged. The system said solemnly, "Come back quickly. Is there something wrong with your world again?" What? Ning Shu didn't react. Was there something wrong with the world again? The system said, "It's that book. Now the unified space is about to be frozen." Ning Shu? Underscore? Oh my God, how long has it been? But she just came to process the star stones and no one came to take over her shift. Ning Shu realized that in the future, if he wanted to process the star stones frequently, he would need to find a partner to take over his shift. If there were any urgent matters, he could ask her to take over for a while. Ning Shu quickly applied for a shift change with the main system. The main system of course rejected. Ning Shu repeatedly explained that there was something wrong with his world, and he had to go back to deal with it. Oh no, she was like a child herding sheep. Even she didn't believe that there was something wrong with the world again. Chapter 3293. The main system didn't object to Ning Shu's application, but it asked Ning Shu to find someone to change shifts. No one was willing to do work like handling star stones. Now they had to do it for someone else. Although they would be paid at this level, who would care about such a small amount of money? They didn't want to do it. The main system meant that if Ning Shu could find someone to change shifts, he could leave. If he couldn't, he could continue to do it. Anyway, he couldn't stop dealing with star stones. So many planes had collapsed. Once it stopped, everyone who dealt with the damaged planes would have to stop. So many people were waiting for him. How could it be possible? Find him himself? Underscore. What if he wasn't familiar with them? Ning Shu went through his mind several times to find someone he knew who could deal with star stones. He found an he. And he said he had something to do and was not free. He also said he had something to do. Ning Shu said to Uncle Zhang, "I have kidney-strengthening fruit." Uncle Zhang, "I have it too." Ning Shu, "Okay, these two couldn't do it. He had to find Senior Uncle. It seemed that he had been blacklisted. Ning Shu applied to remove the blacklisting status. How could he contact someone like this? Communication was very important. The main system didn't say anything this time and directly removed the blacklisting status. Ning Shu said to Senior Uncle, "Please come and take over my shift. There's a problem with my world, so I have to go back and deal with it." Senior Uncle, get lost. Ning Shu rolled his eyes. How could he be so direct? Ning Shu, there's really a problem with my world, really? Really, I'm not lying to you. Now I have to go back and deal with it. He didn't know what the system space was like now. But he couldn't leave like this. Ning Shu contacted Senior Uncle while dealing with star stones. She really wanted to cry in the wind. Ning Shu then said to the system, "You should tell the main system as well. The main system trusts you more than me. I'm really not lying." The system said, "I've already said that the main system has already received feedback, but you'll still have to rely on yourself to find the person who can handle the stellar stones." Ning Shu was speechless. This was truly an abominable job. Why was no one willing to do it? Ning Shu contacted the Senior Uncle again. "Okay, come over and change shifts. Next time, I'll do it for free 500 times. Ning Shu said, "Come quickly." As Ning Shu spoke, he began to melt the star stone. After the planes were linked together, the Grand Elder came. Ning Shu immediately smiled and said, "Thank you." The Grand Elder was indifferent to Ning Shu's smile. 1,000 times. Ning Shu said innocently, "What do you mean by 1,000 times?" "Free 1,000 times." Raising the price on the spot, but Ning Shu really needed time. All right. Ning Shu immediately returned to the system space. As soon as he entered, he felt a bone-chilling cold that could freeze his soul. The entire system space was covered in a layer of frost, and the spirit water in the spirit pool had already turned into a thick layer of ice. The fish inside were frozen and motionless. She wondered if he had frozen to death. Ning Shu quickly took out the fire pearl, hoping that the fire pearl would be able to dispel the cold. The entire space system became extremely humid. Ning Shu quickly took the water out of the system space. Even so, the space continued to freeze. What should he do? As soon as Ning Shu came in contact with the peerless martial art, half of his arm was already frozen. The frost was spreading at a very fast speed, and soon it would cover his entire body. Ning Shu directly broke his own arm. His frozen arm shattered with a single blow, and the ice shards fell to the ground. It was a pity that he lost the soul power of an arm. Now, he couldn't even touch the peerless martial art. Once he touched it, he would be frozen into an ice pillar. Once he touched it, it would shatter. Ning Shu hugged the fire pearl and went overboard. He stared blankly at the peerless martial art. Although the surroundings were frozen, the peerless martial art was not. As soon as the ice and fire came in contact, mist immediately evaporated. Then, there was dripping water everywhere. It was extremely humid. Fortunately, other than the freezing, there was no other danger. The system asked, "Have you thought of how to deal with it?" The system space is also made of energy. If you continue to consume it like this, it will damage your consciousness. Ning Shu, what can I do? I am also very desperate. I can only look at it now. Other than that, what else can I do? Now wait. Other than the cold, there seemed to be no other situation. It all depended on when this cold would pass. The peerless martial art could not be touched at all. The fire pearl was so hot. Only by hugging it now could his soul not be frozen. How could he do the mission in this state? The outside was frozen. He did not know what was going on inside. What was the principle that caused the peerless martial art to be frozen? Logically speaking, the peerless martial art should not have frozen energy. There was no way to enter it now. Ning Shu held his chin and looked at the peerless martial art. He felt that his whole body was not too good. He felt that he could not leave the peerless martial art in the system space. Who knew if something would happen at any time? This way, he would not be able to concentrate on the mission. If he did the mission, he might be notified that there was a problem with the peerless martial art halfway. Could he still ignore the mission? Ning Shu felt that he should leave the peerless martial art in the dark river. If something really happened, the peerless martial art could also absorb energy. Other than the Cheongsam man, no one else had discovered the Dark River. Moreover, the Cheongsam man could not go to that world alone now. His understanding of the spatial laws was not deep enough. Ning Shu left the fire pearl in the system space and left. He went to the consultation room in the City of Water. She decided to spend some money to ask. Ning Shu sat down. The silver-haired man lifted the curtain. When he saw Ning Shu, he only raised his eyelids and asked, "What do you want to ask this time?" Ning Shu said, "There's a problem with my peerless martial art. To be exact, there's a problem with the law of nothingness. It's cold and hot one moment. It's like a lunatic. What's the reason? I can't even enter the world now." The silver-haired man said, "All kinds of situations will occur when the world evolves. Moreover, the evolution of the world is uncontrollable. As for what happens, it should be normal. Is there no way to interfere?" Ning Shu asked. The silver-haired man said indifferently, "Do you have the ability to interfere?" Ning Shu was speechless. Why did he have to be so direct? Ning Shu said, "I don't have the ability. So it's useless to be anxious. Just let the world evolve on its own," the silver-haired man said directly. "It's useless even if you're anxious." Chapter 3294. It was useless to be anxious. Anxious but unable to exert any strength, truly powerless. Ning Shu frowned. But the problem is that it's not an ordinary world. It contains the law of nothingness. It was obvious that the peerless martial art was not as powerful as the law of nothingness. It might be devoured. Ning Shu wanted to scratch his head, but he held back. If the silver-haired man said there was no way, then there really was no way. If there was no solution, he could only let the world do whatever it wanted. In this situation, he couldn't even feel at ease doing missions. He couldn't leave the peerless martial art in the system space. It was too dangerous. Who knew what would happen later? At least the nothingness world was big enough. There were no living creatures, but the problem was that he couldn't take the peerless martial art away. Ning Shu asked, "How much?" 100,000 merit points. The man in the Cheongsam said, "Since you're free, go deal with the star stones later and do what you need to do." Ning Shu was speechless. "I'm not in the mood now. We'll talk about it later." Anyway, there was someone to replace him. When the problem of the world was solved, he would do it. Ning Shu gave him 100,000 merit points, which was the price of dealing with the star stones once. The main system was going to earn money personally. Well, it was worth the entrance fee. Ning Shu was about to leave the consultation room when a voice sounded in his mind. "Sister, come here." Ning Shu was speechless. Brother? Did she hear Li Wen's voice wrongly? Shouldn't Li Wen be wandering around with the bugs now? The silver-haired man frowned and looked at the roof. Obviously, he sensed that someone had broken into the law space. He disappeared in a flash. Li Wen's voice sounded in Ning Shu's mind. "Come to the void." Ning Shu jumped through space and arrived at the place Li Wen mentioned. She saw her brother standing alone in the void. Ning Shu walked over and asked, Brother, why are you here?" "Passing by." Ning Shu was speechless. "Passing by? Didn't you pass by before?" Ning Shu frowned. These bugs wouldn't leave empty-handed. Wherever they went, wherever there was a plane or energy, they would go up and gnaw. They were like locusts. Ning Shu asked, "Is there going to be another big battle?" This was too early. It hadn't been that long since the last time. Didn't they say that it would happen once every 3,000 years? It had only been 30 years. Tell me, did you do it on purpose? Did you come here on purpose? Ning Shu asked, "Why didn't the little mouse come with you?" If Li Wen was here, the little mouse must be here as well. "They're behind us. I wanted to come here." Ning Shu looked at Li Wen and asked, "They're here. Are they going to bite the plane?" Li Wen only said, "Maybe. He probably thinks that he's a tough nut to crack and will only be satisfied if he bites down." Ning Shu. Is it because of the energy body? Probably. Anyway, these insects are used to browsing. It doesn't matter where they go. They can go wherever they want. But it's a little surprising that they turned back. They probably feel unsatisfied, so they came back. Ning Shu rolled his eyes. What's there to be unsatisfied about? You gave so many plane fragments. Anyway, they're going to bite the plane. What's wrong with having a ready-made plane wall now? In addition to the plane wall, there are so many world origins. They're still not satisfied. Millions of world origins. She had done so many tasks, but she didn't find many world origins. The other world origins were all bought and obtained through other means. It was really not an easy task to collect so many world origins. What else could the insects be dissatisfied with? What was the point of turning back now? Ning Shu saw so many world origins and his heart ached. Although they weren't his. It felt like he had given away tons of merit. Although they weren't his, he still felt heartache. His heart ached. Ning Shu asked, "Are they going to fight?" "Maybe." Li Wen said, "By the way, there are many good things in the void. Why do you have to stay here? Go more." Ning Shu was speechless. Go out, of course, she wanted to go out. The problem was that she was alone. It was too dangerous to go out. The races in the void were all innately strong. It was dangerous to go out. These insects weren't very strong individually, but they were very large in number. Many ants could kill an elephant. She didn't have the qualifications to go out now. Ning Shu thought about whether he should inform the organization now. If these insects came back now, the organization would be caught off guard. Here, a little snack. Li Wen took out a bag. Inside the plastic gauze net was a kumquat-like fruit. The fruit was red and looked a little like a fairy fruit. Ning Shu took it and asked, "What fruit is this, little tomato?" "No, it grows in the void. I heard that there's a bird called Dijun that likes to eat this fruit." Dijun? Wasn't it the king of demons, Dijun? It was probably the same name. Birds like to eat fruits. Ning Shu took one out and ate it. The taste was actually quite good. It was quite sweet, very sweet. Most importantly, there was energy. An unknown energy surged in his body. Ning Shu asked, "Have you eaten it before?" "I've eaten a lot. I'm a little tired of it," Li Wen said. Ning Shu was speechless. It was really infuriating to compare oneself to others. If they were going to fight, they had to be prepared in advance. Ning Shu said, "You're out now. The little mouse won't blame you, right?" Li Wen said, "I'm a free person. The little mouse can't control where I go." Ning Shu just shrugged. Although he said that, he felt that the little mouse would definitely be angry. Ning Shu said, "I don't think it's worth it for the little mouse to waste their time in this place." There was no energy in the Sea of Law now, so it was an empty shell. Li Wen looked at Ning Shu and asked, "Why do you say that?" He thought for a moment and said, "Is there a problem with this world?" Ning Shu thought, "Do you have to be so sharp?" Ning Shu just said, "You can go to a world that is not protected by anyone. Why do you have to fight here?" "What I mean is, there are so many people guarding here. Why does the little mouse have to fight?" Li Wen said, "I'm going back. Let's contact each other if there's anything. By the way, don't stay in this place all the time. Why don't you follow the little mouse?" Ning Shu shook his head and refused. "Forget it. The little mouse doesn't like me. If we don't get along well, then forget it. An outsider would be discriminated against." Li Wen did not face him and left. Ning Shu returned to the system space. There was already a thick layer of ice in the system space. Although there was a fire pearl, it was completely useless. Ning Shu wanted to see what tricks the peerless martial arts could play. Chapter 3295. Ning Shu contacted the main system and said that she had information to sell to the organization. It was a top-secret organization. The organization sold her information for money, so she had to take some money. After a while, the silver-haired man sent a message to Ning Shu, "Come to the consultation room." Ning Shu rushed to the consultation room and walked in. The silver-haired man was already waiting for her. It was rare for the silver-haired man to be waiting for her. The silver-haired man went straight to the point. "What's the news?" "Ning Shu, my information is very valuable." The silver-haired man, "Business is business. If your information is really valuable, I will pay you." Ning Shu told the silver-haired man the news she got. The silver-haired man heard the news and frowned. Are you sure about this? Ning Shu said, I just got the news from someone I know. I don't know if it's true or not, but it's good to be prepared in advance. The silver-haired man nodded. I know. I will send someone to investigate and verify the authenticity of the news. Ning Shu coughed and asked, Then what about my reward? I rushed over here as soon as I heard the news. I'm only thinking about the organization. The silver-haired man said, I will give you 100,000 merit points later. 100,000 merit points? Wasn't that the money she gave when she asked questions? Now she got it back. They were exchanging information like this, so no one lost anything? The man in the Cheongsam asked, You know someone from Buggy? Ning Shu. Can I know someone? This was strange. During the negotiation, Li Wen had said this to her. The silver-haired man pondered for a while. Is it that human? Ning Shu shook her head. No. Anyway, you don't have to know how I got the news. Anyway, the buggy is moving in this direction. It's best if they don't come. Her brother brought her snacks. Of course, he wouldn't tell her that it was Li Wen who gave the news. The silver-haired man did not delve into how Ning Shu got the news and said that he would give the merit to her. The silver-haired man left after he finished speaking. It was obvious that he had something to do. The silver-haired man left, but Ning Shu did not know where to go. Would he be frozen in the system space? It was impossible for him to complete the quest in his current state. It was even more impossible for him to deal with the star rocks. Once he dealt with them, he would not be able to leave halfway. Could it be that they were just going to wait? The system was keeping watch in the system space. If something really happened, the system would inform her immediately. That was to cause the system to freeze. Ning Shu no longer felt burdened and went to look for the Cheongsam man. Since he had nowhere else to go, he decided to continue looking for treasures in the void. There were so many empty worlds waiting for her to explore. There were still many treasures in the void, but the void was too dangerous. Void was the 18 levels of hell. Previously, he had been too arrogant and narrow-minded. However, after going out for a stroll, he had a rough idea of what was going on. Then he decided not to go, not for the time being. He would wait until he was strong enough to explore the Sea of Stars. As soon as Ning Shu entered the restaurant, the waiter went upstairs to look for the Cheongsam man. She came here often and even knew the waiter. The Cheongsam man came down with a smile on his face. He was obviously satisfied with the changes in the Tree of World. Now, the Tree of World was full of vitality. Even the soul was full of vitality. After all, the Tree of World grew in the soul. The Cheongsam man sat down, poured himself a cup of tea, took a sip and asked, What's the matter? Let's explore the void again and find something good. Ning Shu looked excited. Why don't we go to the void? Team up to find something good in the void. But it was also dangerous. The Cheongsam man was speechless. Are you talking nonsense? Go to the void. What if you get lost in the void? The Cheongsam man knew that other than this organization, there were many unknown things in the void. The most important thing was that the void was boundless. It was too big. No one knew how big the void was. There was no path. What if they got lost? Also, the Cheongsam man didn't think he had the strength to jump around blindly in the void. Ning Shu said, Okay, then let's go to the void world. It's safer there. The void world was a physical world, after all, and it could be stepped on. But the void world was different. The Cheongsam man nodded. Okay, are we going or looking for others? Forget it, just the two of us. There won't be enough people. Ning Shu said, You're thinking about splitting up when you haven't found anything. The Cheongsam man said, It's good if we found it, but it's a waste of time if we didn't find it. It's not good to have fewer people. If there's any danger, we'll just leave and find more people next time. Ning Shu didn't have any objections. Anyway, it didn't make a difference to her whether there were more or less people. She found the Cheongsam man because the Cheongsam man knew about treasures and what they needed. The Cheongsam man had information from the sect. She brought the Cheongsam man with her, so she would definitely be able to get some information from the sect. It was a win-win situation. Everyone would improve together. Ning Shu said, "This time, we're looking for her." Before Ning Shu could finish, the system told Ning Shu in a trembling voice, "The main system wants you to gather in the void. It says there's a mission." Ning Shu said, "How can I leave in my current situation? The ultimate martial art was so weird. Also, why are you trembling?" Ning Shu couldn't help but ask, "What was it that made the system tremble?" The system said, "It's cold." Ning Shu was speechless. "I have fire orbs, why don't you ask me for them?" He had a few fire orbs. These things could resist the cold. Although there was a wall between them, cold was a kind of energy that walls couldn't block. The system didn't say anything. Ning Shu said, "You have to tell me what you want. If you don't tell me, how would I know? If you don't tell me, how would I know what you want? What was the use of being reserved?" The system said. "Thank you." Ning Shu said to the Chongsam man, "I've just received a last-minute notice. There's a mission, so I can't go with you." The Chongsam man said nonchalantly, "It's fine. Go do your thing." Ning Shu thought for a while and said to the Chongsam man, "Have you understood the rules? The rules are above the rules." The Chongsam man shook his head. "Not at the moment. I heard that the rules aren't easy to understand." Ning Shu said, "You should hurry up and understand the rules. Awan has already understood the rules." Awan was already picking up the shards now, although the bosses weren't willing to do it. However, not everyone could do it. It represented strength, a symbol of status. The Chongsam man squinted his eyes. "Awan has already understood the rules? How do you know?" Ning Shu said, "Because we bumped into her." Chapter 3296. Ning Shu said goodbye to the Chongsam man and returned to the system space. He gave the system a fire pearl. Was the system too shy to borrow a fire pearl from her to keep out the cold? How was she going to do the mission in this situation? Ning Shu arrived at the location of the space node given by the main system. There were already people waiting at this place. There were quite a lot of people, more than 20 of them. Seeing Ning Shu arrive, some of them glanced at Ning Shu and then looked away. Some of them talked to people they were familiar with. Ning Shu didn't know anyone here, so he just stood aside and played with his fingers. Because he had lost an arm's soul power, Ning Shu felt that his soul power was much weaker now. It wasn't easy to gain a little soul power. An arm had a lot of soul power. Everyone gathered here seemed to be waiting for someone. Most likely, not everyone had arrived yet. Ning Shu didn't know many of the higher-ups. The main system, Tai Shu Jingqing, and the others were only acquaintances. As for the others, he didn't even know some of them. He hadn't even seen some of them before. The mission this time was to go to the void? That was good. Who knows, he might be able to find some good stuff in the void. These people were all notified. As for what mission it was, no one knew. After a while, Tai Shu appeared and said to everyone, "This mission is to find bugs in the void. We received news that the bugs are coming back. Now, we have to verify if this news is true." As Tai Shu spoke, he glanced at Ning Shu. "The bugs are coming back again? How long has it been? Didn't they give us something? These bugs are really untrustworthy." Sigh. As soon as Tai Shu finished speaking, many people frowned and began to talk about it. Obviously, they were particularly annoyed by these bugs. Their numbers were huge. Individually, these bugs might be stronger than many mission takers. They might not be able to defeat them one-on-one. Even if the bugs were considered a race with average strength in the void, their starting point was much higher than that of humans. Especially when they were constantly devouring and evolving. They could strengthen themselves by eating. In terms of strength, they were barely able to defeat the bugs. Very reluctantly. Ning Shu understood that she was the one who provided the information this time. If he brought her along, he might be able to contact the person who provided the information. Bringing her along might not be a big deal, but bringing her along might bring some benefits. "Let's go." The Grand Elder led the way. Ning Shu walked at the back of the group and looked around. He was a little confused. Did he know where the insects were? Why was he looking for them directly? Someone immediately asked, "Where are the bugs now?" The Grand Elder said, "I don't know. Look for it." Everyone was speechless. The void was so big, where were they going to find it? Everyone felt a little tired. Tai Shu looked at Ning Shu at the back of the team and said to her, "What do you think?" "Thoughts?" Ning Shu shook his head. "I don't have any. I don't know." Li Wen only brought her a message and gave her some snacks. Then he left. God knows where they went now. The Grand Elder frowned. The void was so big that it was not easy to find them. If they were sure, they would enter an emergency state. Now, the organization had begun to prepare for a possible war. Seeing the Grand Elder ask Ning Shu, everyone focused their attention on her. Someone said to Ning Shu, "If you know something, just say it. This will give everyone a direction." Ning Shu said, "I really don't know." Moreover, the information that Li Wen gave her might not necessarily be true. Even if it was true, those rats had always followed their hearts. If they made a decision 1 second ago, they might regret it after a while and not want to go. What to do depended on their mood. The Grand Elder said, "Since there is no direction, just choose a direction. Everyone, don't be so hasty. Now, let's split into groups and go in different directions. If you find the information, let's split into groups." Thus, everyone found familiar people to team up with. As a trembling little newbie, Ning Shu was the only one left. Because they didn't know each other, everyone tried to find familiar people to team up. It would take a lot of practice to accept a stranger, and they didn't know his character. So, Ning Shu was the only one left. Ning Shu looked at the Grand Elder, who was also the only one left, and a bad feeling welled up in his heart. Did he have to go with this person? Forget it. The teams were assigned. The Grand Elder said to Ning Shu, "Do you want to team up with me, or do you want to team up alone?" Ning Shu, "I choose death." Ning Shu said, "I'll go alone." Skeleton also had some ability to protect himself. If he went with the Grand Elder, he would be a small follower. The Grand Elder said, "Okay, you can team up alone." Someone advised Ning Shu, "You'd better go with the judges. It's too dangerous to be alone in the void." Ning Shu nodded. Since there was a powerful person, why not make use of him? Everyone, aren't you changing your attitude a little too quickly? The teams separated. Apart from Ning Shu, there was another person who followed Senior Uncle Tai Shu. Ning Shu followed behind the Grand Elder, wondering how to find Li Wen. It was easy for Li Wen to find her, but why was it so difficult for her to find Li Wen? The void was too big. Even if they could jump thousands of miles, they didn't feel fast at all. While looking for worms, they passed by some special creatures and plants in the void. Those plants also had fruits growing on them. Encountering such things, the Grand Elder stopped and said to the two, "This kind of fruit can be eaten. Pick it." Ning Shu looked at the fruit. It was very beautiful, crystal clear like a diamond. One couldn't tell that it was a fruit at all. Ning Shu and his teammates went to pick the fruit. The Grand Elder didn't like this kind of fruit, so he stood aside and didn't move. Even the most ordinary fruit in the void was very beneficial to humans. But for people at the level of the Grand Elder, it was useless. Eating it was a waste of time. Ning Shu wanted to get himself some snacks. The taste of the kidney-strengthening fruit was too damn. It was like chewing a lump of iron. Eating some ordinary fruit to adjust the taste. Ning Shu and another teammate picked a lot of fruit. Seeing that they kept picking, the Grand Elder said, "This thing can't be kept for long. If we pick too much, it will rot. Let's go." Only then did the two of them stop and look at the remaining fruits reluctantly. Ning Shu asked, "Is there nothing that can be kept? Just make a refrigerator." Not only did Ning Shu look regretful, but so did his teammates. They looked at the Grand Elder with pitiful eyes. The Grand Elder said, "This thing will accelerate the decay and energy dissipation once it leaves the body. It can't be kept. Give up." Chapter 3297. It couldn't be preserved. Even if it was preserved, the energy would be depleted. Well, what a pity. The three of them continued to walk into the depths of the void. Ning Shu had never walked so far before. She hadn't walked so far before. Ning Shu gnawed on the fruit. It looked like a reincarnation crystal, but it was actually quite soft, fresh, and juicy. The things in the void were good. Seeing Ning Shu gnawing on the fruit, her teammate also took out a fruit to gnaw on. The longer this fruit was stored, the less energy it would have. Of course, it was best to eat it while it was hot. However, they were more reserved in front of the judge, so it didn't matter if they ate it now. Of course, he was a strong master and wanted to maintain his poise. Senior uncle glanced at them and didn't say anything. As they walked, Ning Shu felt that something was wrong. Although she had been wandering before, she had been wandering in a safe area. Ning Shu said to Senior Uncle, "I don't think Buggy and the others are in this direction." Senior Uncle looked at Ning Shu. "What do you think?" "I think if Buggy really wants to attack, he will definitely rush this way. We haven't encountered him after walking for so long. We're probably going in the wrong direction." Senior Uncle thought for a moment and said, "The void is too big. We haven't walked far." Ning Shu, "Well, maybe I'm wrong." Ning Shu felt that this direction was fake. Li Wen could find her so quickly and then run so far. Ning Shu scratched her head and then grabbed another fruit to eat. "Senior Uncle, you don't like cleanliness." She scratched her head and ate again. Senior Uncle's gaze was too obvious. Ning Shu said, "I'm a soul. I don't have any oil on my head. There's no such thing as cleanliness." Speaking of souls, she still had soul poison in her dantian. That was the most unclean and smelly thing. Senior Uncle's face was cold, but he kept a distance from Ning Shu. The three of them jumped through space for a long time. This time, Senior Uncle felt that something was wrong. They shouldn't be so far away. He stopped and said to the two, "Let's go in another direction." What could Ning Shu and his teammates say? They could only follow along. As they walked, Ning Shu kept changing directions. He felt a little dizzy. Jumping through space was a little too much for him. He was about to spit out the fruits he had eaten. Oh my God! However, the Grand Elder's complexion remained the same. He didn't show any signs of discomfort. Ning Shu looked at his teammate beside him. He didn't seem to have any symptoms either. The reason he was stuck there was because his comprehension of the laws of space was not deep enough. This kind of long-range jump was very strenuous, and it was a little difficult to keep up with the rhythm. He still had to continue comprehending the law of space. But now, the spatial city no longer had any law energy. He felt stifled. Ning Shu couldn't take it anymore. He stopped to take a breather and asked, "Did the other teams send any messages?" "Not yet." His teammate said, "Could it be fake news?" Ning Shu, the messenger of fake news, was speechless. The Grand Elder said, "It's because we don't know whether the news is true or not, so we have to verify it." "Do you think it's true?" His teammate hurriedly shook his head. "Of course not. It's good news that we haven't found these bugs yet." Then, the three of them changed directions again. To be precise, the Grand Elder was in charge of this trip. The two of them could only follow. Ning Shu stretched out his hand. "Wait, let me rest for a while. I really want to vomit now." The Grand Elder could only stop and frown. "Why haven't you made any progress?" "Ning Shu, I also want to make progress. How could this kind of thing be achieved overnight?" The law of space was a perverted thing. It wasn't easy to comprehend at all. When Ning Shu thought about the dizziness she felt from the spatial jump, she regretted eating so many fruits before. If he vomited, those fruits would be a pity. But now, he felt that the vomit was about to reach his throat. Ning Shu made a gulping sound and forcefully swallowed it. After resting for a while, the Grand Elder didn't care whether Ning Shu was still uncomfortable or not. He continued to jump. After jumping to the end, his speed became faster and faster. Everything around him became a blur. Ning Shu seemed to be able to see the time. Could it be that they were so fast now? It was said that if one was faster than light, they would see special scenes. However, Ning Shu wasn't in the mood to see strange scenes now. She really wanted to vomit. She was carsick. When Ning Shu couldn't take it anymore, the Grand Elder finally stopped. Ning Shu's face was pale. "Oh my God, I won't run with them anymore. I can't run at all. I can't outrun these people." Why did they suddenly? The Grand Elder stopped. Ning Shu saw that not far away, there was an army of insects. There was no end to it. Is it the previous batch? There were more than one group. In short, there were many groups. Ning Shu saw a big ship in the swarm and said, "Yes, it should be." It was the ship that he had seen before. His teammates said, "It looks like they're going for the plane. We're really going to fight." Ning Shu didn't speak, but the Grand Elder walked straight to the insects. Just like that? Ning Shu was a little surprised. The three of them couldn't beat so many insects. "Follow them," his teammates said to Ning Shu. So be it. Like Zhao Zilong, they went in and out 7 times. The Grand Elder walked in front, and Ning Shu and his teammates followed behind, forming a triangular formation. Snap! With a snap of a finger, the bugs opened up a path for the 3 of them to pass through. The Grand Elder walked over leisurely and stepped on the deck unhurriedly. Standing on the bow, he said, "The guests are here. Shouldn't you come out to greet them?" Little Mouse lifted the curtain and came out from inside. Many people followed behind him, surrounding him. Little Mouse, who was wearing a brocade robe, had a jade-like face. His long hair fluttered in the wind, and he was as elegant as an ancient noble. However, as soon as he opened his mouth, he destroyed this noble aura. He focused his gaze on Ning Shu and said unkindly, "Why are you back again? I gave you something, but you didn't keep your word." Ning Shu was speechless. "You're talking about you. You took something and now you're going to attack the plane." His teammate looked at Ning Shu. "What did you take?" Ning Shu said, "Nothing." Little Mouse stared at Ning Shu. "You don't keep your word. Someone's here. Let's have a talk inside." Li Wen came out of the cabin and said to Little Mouse in a gentle voice. Although Little Mouse was unhappy, he still said to the Grand Elder, "Let's talk inside." The Grand Elder walked into the cabin, and Ning Shu and his teammates followed. Ning Shu looked at Li Wen. Li Wen just nodded to Ning Shu and followed them into the cabin. The cabin was magnificent. Little Mouse sat in the main seat and looked at the Grand Elder. "Why are you looking for me?" It was hard to imagine that both sides could talk so calmly. Chapter 3298. Senior Uncle said, "You've taken the things. Why are you going back on your word?" So many plane fragments and world origins were fake. The Little Mouse glanced at Ning Shu and said rather shamelessly, "I'm happy. What can you do about it?" But the Little Mouse also had the right to be willful. Next to him, Li Wen coughed softly. The Little Mouse slightly restrained his unrestrained expression. "When did I say I was going to go back and continue fighting? I'll do whatever I want." Senior Uncle's expression was indifferent. He looked at the willful Little Mouse as if he was looking at a retard. This race probably didn't have a high IQ. The word retard was written on the white glasses. Li Wen said, "Do you have some misunderstandings about this matter?" Senior Uncle said, "You're going in this direction. What's wrong? Do you think you have too many subordinates and need me to help you consume them?" The Little Mouse said, There are quite a lot. I need you to help me consume them." "I hadn't thought about it before. Now that you've found me, I've decided to attack some. I like to do challenging things." The Little Mouse was now like a willful child throwing a tantrum. "What can you do to me? Beg me." Despair. Li Wen sat next to the Little Mouse and said to Senior Uncle, "Don't mind him. He's always been like this." Senior Uncle said, "What does it have to do with me? Who cares what kind of person he is?" The Little Mouse was deflated by Senior Uncle and immediately aimed his fire at Ning Shu. "If you want to talk about going back on your word, you're the same. Some people also took the things and couldn't say it out loud. Now they're coming over." Ning Shu thought, "You're really a bitch? Don't say she took the energy body." Ning Shu said, "I didn't take it from you. I took it from my brother." "Didn't I give it to your brother?" Ning Shu was speechless. This idiot said such words in front of so many people. How embarrassed would Li Wen be? Although the Little Mouse was telling the truth, those who were more observant would be able to decipher another meaning. Li Wen was obviously used to the Little Mouse's lack of IQ and said whatever he wanted to say. After all, if one was strong enough, one could do and say whatever one wanted because one had the capital to do so. "If I'm happy, I'm happy. If I'm unhappy, I'll lose my temper. If he couldn't bear it, why should he? What could they do about a child who was holding an atomic bomb? They could only coax him to carry it. The Grand Elder looked at Ning Shu. What did you take from him? Ning Shu. She took my energy body, the little mouse said first. The Grand Uncle's glasses began to turn white. You have an energy body. Ning Shu rolled his eyes and expressed his displeasure. Yes, I did. But I don't have it now. I threw it into the law of nothingness. Come and bite me. Li Wen said, it's just a small piece of energy. I gave it to her. The Grand Elder didn't care about the energy body. He had sensed the energy fluctuations in her body before. Now that the topic had fallen into an awkward silence, the little mouse had an uncooperative attitude. The Grand Elder said directly, what's the situation? The little mouse, it's none of your business. I'll do whatever I want. The little mouse wasn't worried at all. This was his base camp. His army was outside the cabin. There were only 3 people here. What could they do to him? What could he do with such a naughty child? Of course, he just had to beat him up. The Grand Elder stood still. A stream of air erupted from his body and directly flipped the little mouse and his chair to the ground. The little mouse was caught off guard and attacked. Although he didn't suffer any damage, it was very embarrassing. His image was gone. The leader was attacked. The other insects in the cabin jumped out and surrounded the 3 of them. They stared at the 3 of them unkindly. The little mouse jumped up from the ground, pointed at the Grand Elder, and shouted angrily, You dare to hit me? I'm going to eat your plane. The Grand Elder's expression was very indifferent. It seems that you're really tired of living. Your life is too comfortable. I gave you something to send you away, not to be afraid of you. Since you want to fight, then let's fight. If he lost his teeth, what was there to gnaw on? It seemed that the Grand Elder was annoyed. He directly dealt with him in one go. Li Wen reached out and pulled the irritable little mouse. He said to the Grand Elder, First of all, we welcome you as guests. However, for them, the plane is their food. It's normal for them to fight. The Grand Elder said, Insects that steal food must be killed. The little mouse's expression was unfriendly. Who are you calling an insect? The Grand Elder didn't bother to talk to the child. He looked at Li Wen and narrowed his eyes. You're a human. Li Wen nodded. Yes, I'm a human. As the emperor of the human world, Li Wen was neither servile nor overbearing in front of the Grand Elder. Although he wasn't strong, there were many people here. He still had some confidence. The Grand Elder pointed at the little mouse. Hurry up and fight. Don't drag it out. You think I don't dare? Just you wait. The other clansmen in the cabin supported the little mouse's decision unconditionally. Li Wen didn't say anything about this. He looked at Ning Shu and said, Let's talk later. I left some snacks for you. Take them back and grind your teeth. Ning Shu was speechless. Grind teeth? I'm not a child. Ning Shu said with a smile, Thank you, brother. His teammate whispered to Ning Shu, Your brother and sister. Ning Shu thought, Fake. Li Wen asked someone to give a big bag of things to Ning Shu. There are some fruits inside. Take them back and eat them. Ning Shu nodded and took the bag. The little mouse stared at Ning Shu unhappily and said, I don't eat these things. They're just garbage. Ning Shu ignored the little mouse's words. I like to eat garbage. Ning Shu whispered to Li Wen, Does this affect you? Li Wen shook his head. What effect? These bugs have to hunt for food. That's their stance. Protect yourself when you fight in the future. Ning Shu nodded. Thank you, brother. Will you participate in the battle? I'll watch from the side. I won't enter the battlefield, Li Wen said. You like energy bodies, right? Li Wen gave Ning Shu another energy body. Ning Shu was speechless. What if his heart couldn't control it? Ning Shu asked curiously, Brother, why are you so nice to me? He knew that she wasn't his sister and wasn't related by blood. Li Wen said, At our level, blood relations don't matter. Consider it your gratitude. If I hadn't met you, I would have been buried in the Imperial Mausoleum. Also, I'll be nice to whoever I want. I don't need a reason. Ning Shu gave him a thumbs up. Very domineering. Nice to whoever you want. Psst. Chapter 3299. Ning Shu accepted the energy body and asked Li Wen, "Brother, that little mouse has always talked like this. Can you stand it?" "Okay." Li Wen shook his head. "No, where did you get the impression that I was wronged? It doesn't exist." Well, Ning Shu did not worry about Li Wen anymore. It seemed that the little mouse listened to Li Wen. Li Wen said to Ning Shu, "Your leader is very strong. Be careful." Ning Shu pursed his lips and nodded. Of course, he knew that he was strong. He had suffered a lot in his hands. This was the disadvantage of humans. Their foundation was too weak. They were so weak that they could be blown apart by a breath. It was so uncomfortable. These damn monsters. Ning Shu said, "I will be careful. I will be very careful." Ning Shu felt that Brother Li Wen treated him well mostly because they were both humans. Now that Brother Li Wen had returned to his birth plane, the dynasty had probably changed. Or perhaps even planes existed, so it wasn't easy to have friends who could communicate with each other for a long time. The past had already vanished into thin air. Ning Shu thought for a while and said to Li Wen, "Brother, it's better not to let the two sides fight. I think Tai Shu deliberately provoked us this time. He's probably annoyed and wants to destroy this wave directly. Previously, the organization did not kill them all. It was probably because they needed to collect the corpses of these insects. Secondly, they did not want to consume too much of the organization's power. Plain fragments were useless in the hands of the organization, so they would be given to these insects. However, if the insects repeated themselves like this, they would definitely annoy the organization. They would want to get rid of these annoying insects once and for all. Although Li Wen's strength was not bad now, he had to rely on the insects. After all, it was too dangerous to be alone in the void. No matter what, Li Wen was tied to this race. Li Wen said, "I understand. I know what to do." Ning Shu only reminded him. Li Wen was the emperor of the human world. He must have a big picture view of things. Furthermore, there were planes everywhere and energy bodies everywhere. Why would he have to hit an iron wall? This was something that would cause him to lose money. Li Wen was the emperor and would definitely not do such a thing. Ning Shu felt that since Li Wenji came to tell him about this, she must have some ideas in mind. Even if they didn't fight, she still had time to steadily improve her strength. Once a war broke out, she would have to enter the battlefield. The battlefield was ever-changing, and she could die at any time. Although she wouldn't die, her will would crumble. After that, who knew how long it would take for her to be reborn? It was not easy to form an intelligent will. Whether it was Li Wen for him or Ning Shu for him, not fighting would be beneficial to both sides. Ning Shu and Li Wen stood on the deck and talked. The little mouse stared at Ning Shu with an unfriendly look. Ning Shu completely ignored the little mouse. As long as Li Wen said something, the little mouse would not say anything no matter how unhappy it was. As long as Li Wen was there, the little mouse would not dare to kill her no matter how much it disliked her. This was because it would make Li Wen uncomfortable or unhappy. Moreover, the little mouse did not have any murderous intent. It probably felt that its existence made Li Wen care. Like children competing for attention, it wanted to get all the attention. It took away Li Wen's attention, so it was very hostile to her. Little Rat felt that these three people were really very annoying. They were very annoying. He was going to devour that plane and make these people cry. The senior uncle sneered and said to Little Mouse, "Come quickly. Let's go." The senior uncle walked away as if there was no one else around. His teammates quickly followed. Ning Shu said to Li Wen, "Be careful. I'll go first." Li Wen nodded. "Okay, you can go." "Yes, get out of here," Little Mouse said. It secretly thought that when it just woke up, it must get rid of this guy first. The situation on the battlefield was ever-changing. God knew what would happen if they fought. Ning Shu put a big bag of snacks into the messen space. The energy body was a bit tricky. The senior uncle must know that she had an energy body. She might not be able to keep this energy body. This was given to her by Li Wen. When they were out of the range of the insects, Ning Shu caught up with the senior uncle and the others. The senior uncle glanced at Ning Shu. Ning Shu suddenly felt pain all over his body. However, the senior uncle did not say anything. He probably did not know how to ask Ning Shu for something. Ning Shu pretended not to know anything. The senior uncle said to another teammate, "Send a message to them. We found it. Let's go back to the organization." The teammate glanced at Ning Shu and the senior uncle and nodded. As soon as he left, only Ning Shu and the senior uncle were left. Ning Shu was a little nervous. He stepped back a lot to increase the safe distance. Did the senior uncle want to snatch her things by force? If the senior uncle really wanted to snatch it, this place was not far from Li Wen and the others. Give Li Wen a signal and he can rush over. He can bring a large team here. Although he might not be able to rush over, he can increase the distance and run directly to the insects. Now, the senior uncle was a scion. He had turned into a giant, but with so many insects attacking him, he was also very uncomfortable and painful. The senior uncle asked, "Did they give you an energy body?" Although there were energy fluctuations around his body, Ning Shu's expression didn't change as he said, "No." The senior uncle said, "There are energy fluctuations." Ning Shu said, "Really? I didn't feel it." "You are hallucinating." Ning Shu's psychological quality was very good now. He was very calm in the face of this situation. What else had he not done? The senior uncle said, "If there is an energy body, the organization can pay for it." Sure enough, the senior uncle wanted the energy body. Ning Shu asked, "If I don't want to, will you kill me?" The senior uncle said, "I won't go so far as to kill you. My life can be saved, but I have to suffer, right?" Ning Shu asked. The senior uncle said, "Are you too idle? So you think everyone is so idle that they have nothing to do and want to torture you?" Ning Shu said, "Yeah, I'm a person who's been through a lot. My life is really tough, really tough." The senior uncle frowned and was a little annoyed by Ning Shu's words. "I said the organization can buy it." Sometimes, he had to admit that although these insects were mentally retarded and only had the instinct to hunt, this instinct could guide them to find planes and energy. The insects who lived all their lives by instinct could exert this feeling to the maximum limit. Even if the mission enforcers were looking for energy bodies in the void, they were not as keen as these insects. The mission enforcers sent out rarely found energy bodies. The senior uncle felt that it was necessary to eliminate these insects. Maybe he could get a lot of energy bodies. Ning Shu said, "Can I not sell it?" If he didn't sell it, would he slap her to death? /BK. Chapter 3300. The energy body was a good thing. Now, the grand uncle had suddenly lowered his stance because of the energy body. However, she didn't want to hand it over. The feeling of not being able to protect your own things was terrible. The grand uncle said indifferently, "You should know that the sea of law can't be saved." Ning Shu nodded. "I know, but I can't do anything. I'm sorry." "So, you need the energy body." Ning Shu pursed his lips and didn't speak. He looked a little resistant. The rise and fall of a plane is related to billions of planes. Ning Shu said coldly, "Why? Now you want to put the shackles of morality on my neck. If I don't hand it over, I'll be sorry to the sea of law and billions of planes. Then you'll say that I'm petty. Even if the sea of law collapses, I can still live. So, what does the collapse of the sea of law have to do with me? Because you have it, you should hand it over. Rich people in the world should donate their money because there are so many people who don't have enough to eat and wear. Should people who don't have enough to eat and wear should be pitted? Blame the rich for not working hard? Her energy body didn't come from the wind. Although Li Wenbai gave it to her, she knew very well that she owed Li Wenbai a favor. She gave this energy body to the organization, and the organization would remember her kindness. Since it was a transaction, she could choose not to sell it. The grand uncle frowned. "Can you not be stubborn? I'm telling the truth. How am I being stubborn? If it doesn't meet your requirements or doesn't meet your needs, I'm being stubborn. Anyway, you all have your reasons." The grand uncle stared at Ning Shu expressionlessly. Ning Shu said, "You know that I don't like people like you the most. You're clearly asking for help, but you insist on making people feel uncomfortable. Maybe if you smile at me, I'll be in a good mood. Maybe I can sell it." The grand uncle laughed. Ha was useful. Ning Shu touched the meson space. There was an energy body in the meson space. It was only the size of a fist, red, and very dazzling. Ning Shu realized that the colors of the energy bodies varied. Could it be that the different colors of the energy bodies represented the different powers of the energy bodies? My world tree also needs this kind of energy. Sorry, I can't give it to you, Ning Shu said. The organization only said that they wanted to buy it, but they didn't give any price. He probably took her things and gave her something else. Sometimes, when benefits were involved, their faces were really ugly. Sometimes, Ning Shu wanted to be a sweet and silly person. He wanted to be a kind person. But being kind without sharpness would be a fool. These people have lived for many, many years. When you talk to them about tenderness, then they talk to you about benefits, about strength and weakness. You are weak, so you should bear all of this. When you're talking to them about strength, weakness, and benefits, you're talking about feelings and warmth. The sea of law was about to collapse, so this was her responsibility, and she should hand over the things. Ning Shu unreservedly expressed his disdain and curled his lips. Are we going back now? Senior uncle pinched his eyebrows. He didn't insist on taking Ning Shu's things immediately. He disappeared in a flash and didn't bring Ning Shu with him at all. Ning Shu looked at the boundless void and shrugged. It was better not to go with senior uncle. He ran very fast, and she couldn't keep up. She was about to vomit. Ning Shu leisurely walked through the void alone. Occasionally, she would see a large bird. It was probably the legendary Kunpeng. It was so big that it covered the sky. Only the void could accommodate such a big bird, and it wasn't just one, but a group. Such a big bird couldn't be stewed in a pot. He felt that the creatures in the void were generally big, very big. Compared to these behemoths, humans couldn't even be considered as small shrimps. Ning Shu strolled in the void and found some fruits. Before returning to the organization, Ning Shu had to deal with the energy body. As long as the energy body was on him, it wouldn't be peaceful. But to really hand over the energy body, Ning Shu was unwilling. Energy bodies were something that could only be found by chance. It couldn't be bought with any amount of money. Ning Shu was not willing to buy her energy form with just a little bit of merit. Things like merit could be earned, but things like energy bodies could not be bought. No amount of merit could buy them. Ning Shu took out the energy body from the meson space. It was red, fist-sized, and had a special energy in his hand. It was a little different from the green energy from before. Could it be that these energies were really divided into attributes? Otherwise, it wouldn't feel different. Ning Shu sat down and looked at the energy body in his hand. What should he do? Should he throw it into the ultimate martial arts? But the problem was that he couldn't even enter the ultimate martial arts. He didn't know what was going on inside. Ning Shu put away the energy body and took out a fruit. He wiped it on his body and gnawed on it. He hid in a hidden place and watched all kinds of strange races pass by in front of him. After gnawing on the fruit, Ning Shu returned to the system space. There were layers of frost in the system space. Ning Shu walked into the ultimate martial arts and placed the energy body on it. It would be good if the ultimate martial arts could absorb it. If it couldn't, he would let the world tree absorb it. He didn't know if the world tree could absorb this kind of energy. The red energy body became smaller and smaller. Obviously, the ultimate martial arts was absorbing this kind of energy. A fist-sized energy body was absorbed just like that. It disappeared at a speed visible to the naked eye. At the same time, the temperature in the system's space gradually rose. The frost started to melt and drip. Ning Shu stretched out her hand and touched the peerless martial art. She wasn't frozen like before. Could it be that it had absorbed a slightly violent energy body and thawed? Ning Shu wanted to quickly enter the ultimate martial arts to take a look, but he still couldn't enter. He was ejected. Damn it. He had already fed her 2 energy bodies, but this world still wouldn't let him in. If it didn't let him in, then so be it. Ning Shu took the ultimate martial arts and went to the Dark River in the Void World. He directly threw the ultimate martial arts into the Dark River. Now he realized that it was dangerous to put this thing in the system space. He put it in the Void World. However, the Void World was unstable and could collapse at any time. So he had to check it out constantly. If the Void World collapsed, everything in the world would collapse with it. After that, Ning Shu exchanged all his merit points for merit grains. Ning Shu went to the world of reincarnation and handed the Messen space to Zhu Jun. He said, "Give these skeletons more merit points to speed up." Zhu Jun took the Messen space and couldn't help but ask, "Did something happen?" At the same time, you have to speed up the training and run-in. Chapter 3301. Zhu Jun. Can you tell me what's going on? Ning Shu said worriedly, "There may be a war. It's better to be prepared in advance. If Li Wen couldn't stop the little mouse, then this war would be inevitable. After all, the little mouse was the king of that race, the leader. Those insects would only listen to the little mouse. If the little mouse got angry and insisted on attacking this world, Li Wen might not be able to stop it. If the little mouse insisted, Li Wen wouldn't be able to stop the overwhelming army by himself. Of course, the winner of this battle would be 50-50. Ning Shu reckoned that the organization still had some hidden strength that she didn't know about. In the last battle, Senior Uncle didn't reveal his true body. Obviously, he didn't use his full strength. Ning Shu had a headache. She didn't care whether those insects were dead or alive. Ning Shu was worried about Li Wen. Li Wen cared about her, so she was naturally worried about Li Wen's comfort. For him and for herself, it was best if this war didn't happen. Zhu Jun asked doubtfully, "What war happened?" Ning Shu wiped his face. "It's a bit complicated." Zhu Jun, "I can understand it no matter how complicated it is." Ning Shu took a deep breath, and then in one breath she told him the whole story. Then he sighed. It was really tiring. Zhu Jun was probably digesting the information he received. Finally, he said, "I see. I'll increase the amount and training. In fact, I've been training all this time. Don't worry." Ning Shu patted Zhu Jun's shoulder and said, "You're doing a good job. I believe in you. You can do it." Zhu Jun glanced at the hand on his shoulder. "Can you not touch me?" Ning Shu retracted his hand. "You don't even have skin. What do you mean by men and women?" Zhu Jun, "Heh, women." Ning Shu, "Heh, men." "Heh," and Ning Shu, "Okay, go back and do it. I won't be able to go out for a while." Zhu Jun nodded and turned to leave. Ning Shu thought for a moment and entered the second level, intending to visit his child. When they entered the cave, they could hear the sounds of Yaya. Ning Shu walked in. Earthworm was rocking the baby carriage, and then he started talking like a child. Ning Shu realized one thing, which was that children would have to learn to speak in the future. If earthworms couldn't speak, then children definitely couldn't speak either. Would he be a mute in the future? The earthworm glanced at Ning Shu. "Why are you here?" Ning Shu said, "I'm here to see the baby." Ning Shu looked at the child in the pram and felt that the child had grown up a lot. He was fair and tender. Previously he was very weak and small, but now he was very smart. His eyes were big and round, and his eyelashes were very long. If she didn't grow up badly, she would definitely be a beauty when she grew up. Ning Shu reached out and touched the child's little face. His skin was tender and full of collagen. It was so tender and smooth, like jelly. "Can you stop touching? Don't you know that children's skin is tender?" The earthworm used its tail to stop Ning Shu from touching the child. Ning Shu withdrew his hand and said, "You've taken good care of him. You're indeed a person full of maternal instincts. By the way, are you male or female?" Using consciousness to communicate, there was no distinction between male and female voices. "Why do you care if I'm male or female?" the earthworm said angrily. It was still rocking the cradle. Ning Shu teased the child with a brightly colored toy and said, "You have to learn to speak." "I'm a soul worm, so I can't speak the language of two-legged monsters." Ning Shu said, "If you can't learn to speak, this child will spend time with you in the future. If you can't speak, the child won't be able to learn. He can only be a mute in the future. Is that so? Then why can Liren speak directly? The earthworm didn't expect such a thing to happen. It had never raised a two-legged monster. It hated the two-legged monster, but it still had to raise a child for it. Ning Shu said, Liren isn't human. He copied my thoughts and is already a mature personality. He's different from ordinary humans. In the future, this child will have to learn to speak and walk, step by step. Ah, so troublesome. The earthworm felt that it was going to be depressed. It was so troublesome. I think you should slowly learn to speak so that you can communicate with others. Ning Shu felt that the earthworm and Yi Lin had fallen out mostly because the earthworm couldn't speak. Yi Lin only treated the earthworm as a spiritual pet that would do whatever it was told to do. He didn't treat the earthworm as an intelligent creature. At a critical moment, he used the earthworm as a shield. The earthworm ran away directly. This was probably something that Yi Lin didn't expect. They learned to speak. The earthworm rocked the cradle. The two-legged monster stared at the baby with its bean-sized eyes and sighed. Ning Shu went to the modern plane to get some baby things. The child grew up day by day. The clothes couldn't be worn if they were too small. The clothes were even new and couldn't be worn next month. The child grew too fast. Ning Shu gave the things to the earthworm and left. The earthworm rolled its bean-sized eyes and threw the child to it. It came to take a look and left after throwing some things. It inexplicably felt that the two-legged monster was a heartless, stinky man. Women. Stinky, shameless women. Ning Shu returned to the system space. The silver-haired man told her to go to the consultation room, saying that he had something to ask her. Ning Shu said to the system, "No need, do the mission." The silver-haired man was definitely looking for her because of the energy body. The grand uncle probably didn't want to deal with her, so he asked the silver-haired man to talk to her. She is an ant. She is an ant. The system said. They're still waiting. Are you really not going? Was it really okay to let the main system wait? Ning Shu said, no, you saw it too. The energy body was directly absorbed. They're only looking for me for the energy body. I can't take it out. Since they were willing to wait, then wait. The feeling of waiting was not good. The system said, you can tell them that the energy body is gone. As for whether they believe it or not, it's up to them. The system really didn't expect Ning Shu to be so decisive and directly melt the energy body. The organization said that they wanted to buy the energy body. That was something the organization needed. But to melt it just like that, the system asked itself if it dared to do so. Now it was a bit difficult to clean up. Ning Shu said casually, okay, tell the main system everything you know. Say that there's a problem with the world, causing the entire system space to freeze. That's why this energy body was used. Now it's gone. It wasn't that she didn't want to give the energy body to the organization, but the situation didn't allow it. The world needed the energy body. The system. Chapter 3303. When she was an ordinary person, she was the emperor of the human world. She enjoyed the power at the top. She could do whatever she wanted. Now, she was not an ordinary person, but she walked faster than people like them who walked step by step. This was a skill. Back then, she also met the little mouse, but their auras did not match. Little Housie liked Li Wen. This was fate, it was fate. It was probably the same sex repelling each other. The little mouse must be a girl. Since the topic revolved around Li Wen, Ning Shu understood that it was because of the problem of the energy body. The silver-haired man picked up his chopsticks and picked up some food for Ning Shu, then put down his chopsticks. He used the common chopsticks to pick up the food, so it was not dirty. Moreover, the silver-haired man did not eat. He did not eat a single bite from beginning to end. Obviously, he looked down on these things. In other words, the main system was not an ordinary person. Monsters, they were all monsters. He wondered if the silver-haired man would suddenly transform into a tall and sturdy person. That would really ruin his image. It was better to be picturesque like this. The food on the table was all in Ning Shu's stomach. Halfway through, the silver-haired man finally got to the point. He said, "Should you know about the Sea of Law?" Ning Shu shook his head. "I don't know. I don't know anything. Don't kill me." The silver-haired man was speechless. "I'll just watch you act." The silver-haired man ignored Ning Shu's performance and said, "These insects not only eat planes, but also energy bodies." Ning Shu nodded. "I know that. Isn't that what they eat?" The things on the table now, chicken, duck, fish, and fish were their food. Could something like the food chain be condemned? It could not be condemned unless you did not eat at all. Since you know that human, you can be a middleman and exchange energy bodies. Ning Shu shook his head and said, "It's hard to say. The energy body he gave me was nothing more than a small piece of the insect's teeth. He gave me a small piece to play with. A big deal won't do." These things were the insect's food. As for trading, the insects didn't care about things like merit. Food was their foundation. If their food was touched, these insects would go all out. However, why would Li Wen do such a thing if he were to work together with them from the inside? In terms of relationship, Li Wen was closer to Little Mouse. Furthermore, doing such a thing would only bring more harm than good. Li Wen was a smart person. Moreover, Ning Shu wouldn't say anything. If he really did, their relationship would be strained. In the future, it would be hard for them to even talk to each other. The silver-haired man's idea was pretty good, but it was very difficult to execute in reality. Moreover, the things provided by the organization might not even be what Li Wen wanted. There were many good things in the void. The snacks for her were all packed in bags. It could be seen that Li Wen was actually a hidden tycoon. If he sold these items at the auction house, he wondered how many merit points he could earn. They couldn't give the other party what they wanted. The other party didn't want anything from them. This matter was like eating lotus root and they couldn't come to an agreement. Ning Shu put down his chopsticks and shook his head. "Sorry, there's no chance of this happening." The silver-haired man frowned. "Is attacking the only way?" "Ning Shu, why did you say it in front of me?" This was definitely a threat. They were obviously going to snatch something. If the soft approach didn't work, they would use force. "Ning Shu, is there going to be a war?" It was a bit like a cornered dog jumping over a wall. In the past, the organization seemed to have told these annoying locusts to scram and not come back. Now, they were actually taking the initiative to attack these insects for the energy bodies in their hands. Ning Shu had a feeling that the organization was a bit desperate now. The silver-haired man said this in front of her because he wanted her to tell Li Wen. Either fight or give something. Ning Shu really wanted to dig her throat and spit out what she had eaten. Sure enough, these people wouldn't be so gentle for no reason. Ning Shu said, "Aren't you taking it for granted? Even if those insects have energy bodies, they will eat them and not collect them." The silver-haired man said, "It doesn't matter, the corpses of these insects are also useful." Ning Shu, slightly perverted. She was speechless, not because she was worried about the fate of these insects, but because she was worried about Li Wen. If Li Wen did not have the protection of this insect race, it was very likely that she would not be able to survive in the void. Even if she survived, she would probably have to suffer a lot. How could it be as comfortable as it was now? If the group of insects was eliminated, the organization would not leave Li Wen behind. Ning Shu wanted to do it first. If they were really going to fight in a hurry, she thought that going to the battlefield in such a sorry state would be very difficult. After all, her soul was not strong. To put it seriously, at least the silver-haired man was like this now, exaggerating the matter by many times. Previously, he said that the Sea of Law could last for tens of thousands of years, or even hundreds of thousands of years. Now that he was desperate and wanted to attack the insects, Ning Shu felt that the silver-haired man was probably trying to intimidate her. Ning Shu, who understood a little, was very calm. Even if the sky collapsed, there would be someone tall to hold it up. Furthermore, even if it collapsed, she would still be able to live. At most, she would just wander in the void. Maybe any random race in the void would be able to kill her with a raise of their hand, but if she was careful, slipped away quickly, and acted wretchedly, she would definitely be able to survive. What was there to be afraid of? Ning Shu said to the silver-haired man, Just say what you want to say. I am a bit stupid. If you don't say it clearly, I won't know what you want to say. If we really have to fight, I will definitely take the lead for the organization. The silver-haired man calmly picked up some food for Ning Shu and said, "Continue eating." He even asked her to eat. She could not eat anymore. The silver-haired man said, "A little bit of energy body is precious to the sea of law." Ning Shu nodded. "I know. Didn't the organization send people out to look for energy bodies? They should be able to find them. Didn't they already find them?" They already had energy bodies, but they were still so vicious. Those energy bodies should have lasted for a long time. Actually, there are a lot of energy bodies in the void, but do you know why we are still lacking them? The silver-haired man took a sip of coffee and asked Ning Shu. Ning Shu shook his head. "I don't know." That was indeed the case. Then who knew how many planes and energy bodies had been eaten by the insects? It was heartbreaking. Unless there was someone protecting them, these insects were locusts in the void. Wherever they went, they would not leave behind a complete plane, nor would they leave behind any energy bodies. If the organization really needed energy bodies so much, they could also plunder the energy bodies of other planes like the insects. There were too many planes in the void, and too many things that contained energy bodies. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.